All right, boom, we're back. Squeeze the Neck podcast. Define Fitness today with my mate, the boxing life coach, Kieran Ekeledo. Bash, we're back. So we've already done one of these before, actually, haven't we? But we've been more intertwined than that because we've been at boxing events together. You've got me into some press conferences. You
got me into some fights as well.
That's it, mate. We do what we can, don't we? We talk about your book after. We spoke about it last time. I gave you a stick about the suit you was wearing on one of your other books. We'll come back to that in a minute too. But, mate, we spoke recently. We've been speaking for a long time, actually. I had to pull out one recently because I had a little tweak in the hamstring. I couldn't get down here. But, yeah, mate, what's going on? Tell me.
What's going on? Do you know, just life is life. And right now, probably the newest thing that's happened that's kind of like newsworthy, shall we say, is now, I'm trying to think. There's been a lot since last time because it was probably September, well, probably no, July, because it was after the Ben masterclass, and that must have been.
That's where we met, right?
Yeah, that's where we met. That was probably like probably around this time. Yeah, April. Yeah,
April was the Ben masterclass.
So it probably was about a year ago now, because it would have been like a couple of weeks after May.
Yeah, it goes fast, doesn't it?
That's it.
But I've seen you loads of times. You lose the dates, don't you? Because as I say, we've been at events and stuff
and we're chatting and stuff. So I'd say last time probably mainly obviously doing a lot more of the grip test content.
I've seen
the grip so that's really taken flight. As in we've got over 1,500 participants now. We've got everyone from Anthony Joshua who got involved, Eddie Hearn. Who else? We got some the big and the small. It's not even it's like people on the high street, as many people as we can get, just to kind of raise awareness of the importance of grip strength for life, not just for combat. And then what else? We've just recently got a partnership, influencer partnership with DAZN.
Okay.
So they reached out. That's the bit I was there we go. That's the bit that's really kind of like, not saying shifted things, but it's one of them where it was like a nod to say that, you know, my work is taking flight. Because sometimes, you know, when like you've got these videos and it's like maybe you got a couple of hundred views and 5 or 6 likes, and again, to some that might be like, yeah, that's great. But obviously, when you've got tens of thousands of followers, you kind of sometimes it can be deflating when you see that. But then when you see who some of these likes are, you realize actually maybe less is more. Mm-hmm. So then like one of the team reached out from DAZN, was like, look, like your content, love to see if you want to come on as an influencer partner. So if you do want a DAZN membership, you can get a free trial, link in my bio, the Boxing Life Coach.
Bosh.
And then they get a discount as well, promo 5, you get 5% off as well for that. And or just go on DAZN.com/the Boxing Life Coach. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the newest thing. That only happened literally in the last 2 weeks. So now it's just more around finding a way of how I can add value and serve there. Because, as you know, a lot of the people in my audience and network are the ones in the industry. Do you know what I mean? Like the coaches, the fighters. So it's like some of them might have a membership. I've got a membership. I had one for a couple of years. But it's going to be hard to try to sell me a new one when I've already got one in there. And so it's like trying to now look and see how we're going to build the next wave of subscribers. So it's not just the exercise and the training part. Now I'm really becoming more down the entertainment, but making sure I don't sell my soul on the way.
Yeah, don't sell yourself, mate. If I come in here and you've got like, you know, a funny hat on or something, you've got fucking sold out. No go. No episode 3's coming. But like we were speaking before this started about the fight, so we'll get into some current fights and whatnot, because that's obviously where we're going to go today. But like before we do that, mate, you just give me your book, which I'm glad you signed it for me, which is good. It's going to be a collector's item when you're famous. I'll stick that on your wall somewhere. But tell me where you're going with your thing, mate, because as you said, you've been you've got a deal going on with DAZN and stuff now. Like, what's your plans with what you do?
So my plan, literally this year, I'll speak about 2 of my 4 goals here. So one, obviously I like to start with the training, because it's all good talking business, but I see as like, are you still working towards your own goals? So at the moment, I've got my main fitness goal I'm working on is doing 100 push-ups in 1 set. Okay. So you might have seen some of the content on socials.
Where are you up to?
So right now I'm on 88.
Okay.
But funny story with that is, and the reason why I always tell people, record your training, because when I was doing that, I thought I had 90. So I'm there counting it. But then when I rewatched it, I'm like, you cheated on a few of those. Like, it's more of like, I was counting at a rhythm that I was moving at, but my body stopped moving at that rhythm. So then when I'm pushing out the last few, I'm like, okay, last 10, I'm counting them. But I was on 78, not 80. So when I thought I was doing my last 10, but then I realized it's more mental, because I had that number I wanted to hit. So then I was like, pushed for it, but I was like, if only. So obviously that's a bit of it. I'm working towards that at the moment. Did my first 8-minute plank, like handstand plank on Friday. So I'm building up 1 minute at a time, probably until we get to the end of the year. So hopefully by the end of the year, we should have a good 30 to 40 minute. So I can pretty much watch the boxing in a plank position.
I was going to say, you've got to put an iPad on your face. iPad, because I stare at the look, because I do a lot of handstand training, right? I'm actually working on a one-arm handstand now. But with that, when you spend a lot of time in these durations, there is an element of, I'm looking at my hands and the floor for an awful long time here. You know what I mean? And there's a mental play with that, which is good. But obviously, in a handstand, you're not there for like 8 minutes at a time, or I'm not there for 8 minutes at a time, so it's a bit different, right? But like, with all these goals, where do they come from? Are they just someone challenging for these? Or what?
It's more me against me. So I'm a big believer in goal setting. So as you'll see in the book, The 12 Boxing Principles, I speak about like the 4 keys of self-mastery that have really helped me in my life. Everything from affirmations, so speaking more positively about myself. So it's kind of saying like, let's go, champ. You can do it. Come on, let's have it. That type of positive reinforcement, starting there, then having goals. So I've always been someone like, if I don't have goals, I kind of just float around. So I set different goals each year. Last year, my goal was just to train like a fighter for 300 days. But part of that is I kind of let myself down because I just said train like a fighter. If I gave 50% or 60%, it didn't really matter. I just need to show up. Right. So I didn't necessarily progress. I still was consistent, which is obviously the first part. But then I reviewed the year, was like, okay, great, you trained, you kept fit, but really you're not any fitter or stronger than you were the year before. Right. So then I was like, okay.
It's too open-ended, it's just like train like a fighter.
So I was like,
for a minute. And that's,
do you know what I mean? Now I've done it for So now I was like, okay, let me set something which I know is going to push me to work, but also means that I can't slack, because if you slack, now you've got to catch up. So I was like, okay, let's do 100 push-ups. I always like, almost doing less is more, because you got people all the time who's like, oh, I'll train, I just haven't got this time, and it's like, these are all just excuses, really. I say we either make results or excuses. So with push-ups, it means whether I'm at home, whether I'm in the gym, there's no excuse not to get the work and the training in. But then, because my brand, I'm focusing, my second goal, which I was going to talk about, is I want to inspire over 100,000 people this year to get stronger and wiser. And again, later on, I'll break down what I mean by how we're going to categorize that. But from that was more for like, okay, if I'm telling people, okay, I'm going to show you guys how to get stronger, but then I'm there sitting there looking like mid, it's like...
You're last place on the grip strength.
So it's one where I was like, right, let's set this goal, let's get to 100 push-ups. And then, so yeah, it was just more of a goal that I kind of set for myself. I had other ones like pull-up goals and running goals, but I thought, when I spent some time with the family out in Australia, with my uncle, he's used to be an amateur boxer, but he's also more like former like territorial arm or British intelligence, military stuff. So he's very switched on, laser focused and stuff. And when I was talking to him about other stuff, he was like, bro, not bro, that's not how he speaks, but
bro, you off.
It was more of like, listen, all of these stuff, I don't really focus as much about goals. I'm more about outcomes, because like there was a story of like in the military, someone was in a war. I forgot which war it was, but they were like told you got to climb the hill, but you had to reach a certain point. But they reached that point, because they got there, they stopped. But then what happened is the people on top were like, wait, they're not continuing to advance. So they went down and they backed them. So that's why he said, look, you've got to have outcomes, but then have goals. But your main thing should be your aims and outcomes. So now it's like, okay, this year I want to get stronger and faster, but stronger being the main thing. Right, what's now the goal? 100 push-ups plus in one set. So now, before, if I just said, do 100 push-ups in one set, once I've done 100, I'd be like, done. But now, because the focus is more get stronger, obviously, I said 100, but the person who's actually I've been watching online and like learning from, he's actually aiming to work towards the world record of maximum push-ups in one set, which is something just over 10,000. So he's aiming for 10,507 in one clip. So far, his best is 4,000. So when I was doing my program and then looked at his, he was like, look, all you used to do is train 3 times a week, do X, Y, and Z. It might take you a bit longer to get there, but with this routine, after about 5-6 months, you should be able to do about 1,000. So then from there, I was like, okay, maybe let me just step back. Principle 11, let me show a bit of humility and just follow a plan, which obviously works when someone's got the proof in the pudding. Yeah. So that's kind of where the kind of idea for the 100 push-ups came from. And then with the helping people get stronger, as you know, I'm more than just trying to build like working with clients one-to-one. I really want to serve like the world, the boxing community, and those who want to grow. So it was more of having something in terms of the brand and the business, because it was like, as you said, it's like, you see me doing so many things. It's like, okay, cool. What's really going on? Like, what's the main direction? So it was like, okay, this year, let's just help people get stronger. 100,000 people to get stronger, faster and lighter. And then that's when I sent out the poll. You might have seen when I sent out the poll with the genie. And it was like, look, if there was a magic fitness genie who could help you achieve one of these goals, what would it be? Would you want to get stronger? Would you want to get... I'll show it to you, because I think you're...
See, this is what I watch you with selling your soul. I don't want to come in the next time you're like all painted blue and dressed like the genie. And like, asking to rub a lamp or something. Like, no. Just stay on topic.
That's it. But that was from the data and from the feedback. I could see that more people were interested in getting stronger than anything else. So that's why I was like, okay, this year we're going to help people. Sorry, I'm just trying to find it here. I was just saying, like, let me going to help people get stronger. I think I have to send it to you because it's not, oh, here it is. So it's like, this was the one, obviously, a bit of AI.
There you go, If you're all genied up, be stronger, be faster, be lighter, okay.
So that's the main thing we're helping people work towards this year. But from the feedback there, it was like 60 to 70% were stronger in that. And I looked and then thought, wait a second, it's like, let's say, when it comes to faster, there's only certain things I want to be faster at. Certain things you might want to take more time at. Do you know what I mean?
Such as what?
Hey, come on. Let's leave that to the imagination. There we go. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, lighter, not everyone wants to get lighter. Some people, do you know what I mean? Some people trying to go up with weights and stuff like that. But I've never heard someone say, do you know what? I want to get weaker.
Yeah.
So it was more of, from there, it kind of like reinforced that, stronger is the main thing. But I'm not like trying to be like a strong man or like weightlifter. Like my base is still combat sports and calisthenics. So it was like, how can we tie a goal which is into that, inclusive as well? Because I don't like resources as much as though I may appeal and work with a lot of like high-end audience. I also like to work with, I don't like resources to stop people from being resourceful. So it's like having that place where it's like, cool, actually, anyone can work towards this goal. And then from there, we're kind of going to build. Once we've ticked that one off, we've got 2 more fitness goals we're aiming for to hit before the end of the year. But because my uncle told me about, look, laser focus, you're all trying to do 3 or 4 things. You're watering each one down. Yeah. Get the one done, tick it off, then go on to the other. So I was like, you know what? Maybe that's right. And again, I'm only on 88 push-ups currently, so it shows it's probably the right trick. Because if I was trying to do all 3 at once, I'd probably even be further
like
behind.
Push-ups struggling. Well, we got to get your uncle on. I don't know about you. The way it seems like the guy to get onto. But like, how do you train for your push-ups? You mentioned 3 times a week. The other fellas say.
So 3 times a week. So what we do is, so this was actually something I'd already had a formula similar, because there's a guy in America called Zef Zaccavelli. So he's got a community called Barbarians. Not sure if you've seen him online. So him, incredible. Interviewed him a couple of years ago, and then like when we spoke, because that was when I was one of my ultimate goals. You know, he said he's had one handstand push-up. One of the things I want to get is what they call the God set, where it's like 50 pull-ups in one clip, straight into a muscle up, into 50 dips. So he was the first guy online to kind of do that. So managed to sit down, did like a Zoom interview with him, great chat. And then he gave me like his 5 formula like routines of what he talks about. So he's like pyramids, so like, let's say you do 1 push-up, then 2, then 3, then 4, then bring it up to 10, then bring it back down.
When you say 1 to 2, how are you doing that? You do 1.
So like 1 push-up, stand up. 2 push-ups, stand up. So you get a mini breather in between. So that was his first form. He said, look, pyramid push-ups. Second one he spoke about was what they call like on the minute. So he'll do like, let's say 5 pull-ups and 10 push-ups every minute on the minute. And then so you get the rest time. Rest you get, start, But then as the rounds go on, you get more and more tired. And then like we kind of set criteria for beginner, medium or expert, or what I call amateur, professional or elite. And then, so those were the first 2. He also had what they call metronome push-ups. So where it's like you do it to the time, because it's like 1, beep, 2, or beat. Right. Like really controlled. That was his other one. He also had something called like the 3MD, or no, what he had actually called the 5MD or the 10MD, which is 5-minute drill, 10-minute drill. But then I had to bring one down to a 3-minute drill, because not everyone can do 50 put-ups in one set. So it's like, let's bring something to, so what it is like you've got a time, you've got to do 50 pull-ups and 100 push-ups in just under 5 minutes. And if you can get that, then you kind of tick the box.
And you have to complete the pull-ups before you start the push-ups? No. So you can go from one to the other?
One to the other. So like a lot of the people online, you'll see they do it where you've got to do one before moving on to the next. But because Zeph is actually one of the OGs who actually did this before the new gen are doing it, the original one was you do pull-ups. As soon as you can't do any more pull-ups, you drop down straight to push-ups. Right. Once you can't do any more push-ups, back up. And then you keep on going. So if anything, it's good because it also works your memory and your mind to remember what number you're on. So do you know what I mean? You have to think about that. So that was the other one, and then obviously that's where I got the on the minute routine from, and then the last one was the timed holds. So it was like you do like 10 or 20 push-ups, and then you hold at the bottom part for 20 seconds, hold the top part for 20 seconds, so you get that time under tension there too. He was doing so those were the 5 he taught me, and because he was an OG in his space, but when I met him was more because I was trying to talk to him to learn about the pull-ups. But obviously he can still do push-ups. Seems like push-ups the foundation. So that was kind of the beginning formula that I was using at the start of the year, just doing all 5 of those. And I'll be real, the routine, it was tough. It was one where you got to like dig in, dig deep to find them, man, which I enjoyed. But then sometimes like you can kind of like try and take it easier some days or not make excuses for yourself, but you really got to G yourself up for it. But then when I spoke to, and then what happened is, because I was going up each week so fast, I was getting up to where I do 600 push-ups in 30 minutes. But the quality of them was, they were starting to drop and diminish a bit, or I would do it one time, I could get it through. The second time I could get, but my body just wasn't able to do it like continuously because it was like chill, like, you're gonna damage yourself. So I then took the time, did some more research, saw the guy, Do Hard Things, who I'd been watching for a while, and he had a video breaking down how he did it, but how he also coached others to get to doing 1,000+ push-ups. So I'm like, fair play. It might take a bit longer. So what we do now, we do the on-the-minute routine. So that's like, let's say, so it's anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes. So right now, we're just going for 12 push-ups every minute on the minute for 13. So it started as, let's say my max when I started this routine was 70. So really how I should do it, how he would say is if your max is 70, he would do 7 reps every minute on the minute for 10 minutes. And then the next week, so you do that twice in the week. And then another day you lift heavy, like bench or dips, like lifting heavy, like in chest and triceps and stuff and shoulders. And then you just work on your plank holds. So because you got to be able to hold a plank for long. So he says you do 1 minute plank, 2 minutes free, and each week you go up until you can do hours. So that was the routine of what he recommended. So what I then said is I took it back, but from when you're not used to, but I had built up to doing 300 push-ups, 450, 500, 6, and up to where I got to 600. And then from there, it was like dropping down to doing a session of 70 push-ups when it was a bit too much of a hit. So I was like, okay, let's just go back to 10 10s. So even though I couldn't do the 100, because in his formula, and for me to start at 10-10, I should really be able to do 100 push-ups already. But I could do 70, but I knew I could do 10 minutes on 10. So that's where I started. Then you do the next week 10 11s. So it's 11 10s, then 12 10s, 13, then you get to 15 10s. And then once you get to 15 10s, you drop it back down and do 11 10s. And then 11 11s until you now build up to the point where over time, you're now going to get to where you can do like 20 15s, should we say? But you built it in a sustainable manner.
You ain't killed yourself any session. You've just cranked it up.
But the harder part with this routine, so that's where I thought, the push-ups was the work. What I realized with him is where the hard bit is really in the plank, because you're going up like the push-ups. I'm like, it was like. But then every week you're going up. Okay, 1 minute push-up, plank. Okay, that's all right. 2 minutes. Okay, that's just sweating a bit. 3 minutes. Okay, now you're really working. 4 minutes. When I started to get to 5 minute plus. From Tuesday, I was thinking about what I had to do on Friday. Being like,
right. What is it, once? A 5 minute plank once?
Yeah, just done. Once. But it's in that. But then each week you're having to build on that number. So that's really where the main core strength and the shoulder mobility and stabilization is coming in. Because then essentially you can bang out like 20 push-ups and then just shake it out. Not like arse in the air, but more just hold the plank or one arm, so you're still holding plank position, but you can do single arm plank because your core can stabilize there. Shake one arm out, shake the other, keep repping. That's the formula that they use.
And how often do you test it?
So I test my numbers once a month.
Once a month?
Once a month. Cool. I do the routine.
And is it test day today? You're going to do this for us on camera now or not?
Do you know what? Oh, do you know what?
He's on the spot.
Do you know what? Yeah. It's like... Do you know what?
Oh, this could get some views, son. Look at this. I didn't think you'd do it. Out the chair.
What? Yeah, mate, I can't.
Out the chair.
Hey, what can I say? I've got to get a
man.
test in. Because it's one thing talking about these things, being like, yeah, that's how you do it.
All right.
That's one thing.
All right. Here we go.
Not that I was expected to do that today.
The first time on the podcast someone's been doing push-ups.
Do you know what?
Do I count it out loud for you or what?
Yeah. Because I'll miss my count.
Good. I'll count to 10. I'll let you know every 10, right? Cool. Here we go. Go. 10. 20. 30. 40. 50. 60. Go. You got this.
Can you count them one by one now?
Go. 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70. 71, 72, 73, 74, 75. 76, 77, 78, 79, 80. My man, go. You got this.
Is this what I mean? Not having the arse up in the air.
Yeah.
You got to just...
Yeah, I got you. Taking it out on one arm. 81, 82, 83, 84, 85. 86, 87, 88, 89. 90, 91, 2, 93. 94, 95. Let's go. We got this 100 today, my man. Let's do it. 96, 97. 98, 99. Bosh! He's got it. How about that on Squeeze the Neck? Bosh! Man, top man. Yes.
I just got to get some tissue.
Yeah, get some tissue. I'll get the chair back. Boom, that was brilliant.
There we go.
I didn't think he'd get that. Whoa!
Oh.
There you go. Whoa. Record on Squeeze the Neck. Mate, big respect. That was good.
Caught that live.
That was really good. That was good. I didn't think you'd get that. When I said that, I'd do it today. I was having a wind up and you got up and got the 100.
No, that's what we'd have to do. And part of the reason why we did that as well is because it's one of them where I think part of my motto is stay ready. As much as we like to be prepared for when the good or the bad times come, sometimes it's more of a philosophy. Are you ready for what's to come your way? Here it's like, boy, when you said, do it, it's like, in my mind, the easy out would have been like, nah, I'll train a couple of days. Yeah. I've got it at the end of the month, wait till then. Yeah. But then it's like, well, actually, let's see.
That's good.
Let's see what we're about.
You can do 100 push-ups, show me. You know what I mean? Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, that's good.
And now it's like, also, because a lot of people chat a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, and there to see it there. But with that, and I'm very grateful for this, because obviously this is the first time I got the 100 out. Probably part of it was the extra.
Listen, I want some royalties from that. Listen, every time you make a pound note off that, I want 10%.
That's it. And then, but with there, it's now that's like a foundation, but building to now the stage where it's like, where I can get 100 in without stopping.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so
a better 100 if you like.
There we go, a better 100.
Complete 100.
There we go, where it's
but
not.
I tell you what was there. When I was watching you do it, right, you got to 50. And I thought, not today. Do you know what I mean? Because it's getting hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you kept chugging away. And it seemed to me, anyone watching, give me a comment, but it looked like when you got to 70, it was like a second wind. It was like, boom, we're kicking on. It was almost like I could feel you go, I'm getting 100 today. It felt like I'm doing the maths. As I'm counting, the back of my head's going, 88 ain't far for 100, so he can't go less because he's on camera. Right? I know you're going to get 88. If he gets more than 88, you've got to go all the way. And I'm going, tick, 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 tick. This might happen, but
that's it.
That was good.
And I think that it's the plank holds that made this so much, not easier, because don't worry, this is still hard work to do. You see sweating now, it's just one set. But because I'm basically, I can stay in that position for 8 minutes. It's like, that for me is now like a rest.
Yeah,
so when I'm
shaking,
because essentially you're like, but a lot of people won't have the strength to be able to hold their weight after doing 60, 70, 80 push-ups on one arm
so
without
stop. Yeah, that's the end.
That's it. Yeah. So it's like, so part of it is having that core strength and that shoulder and scapular mobility, stability. So, so in terms of what I'm about this year and what the mission is, this is it.
I didn't see that coming today.
Doing that, do you know what I mean? Obviously we've got the grip test as well, so again, I got that in the back. We can give that a go as well.
What I'll have to do when we do another episode, I'll have to come back with 100 push-ups for you.
That's it,
Have that one.
That's it.
We might have to set each other a challenge. That could be a way to go. But we'll talk about that.
And also the handstand push-up. When you start talking about the one-arm hands, I'm all open for that because I love.
So this year I can say it on here as well. Like thing, I want a one-arm pull-up, full one-arm pull-up, handstand push-up, freestanding. You know, over the top. So when I say over, I mean like as in off a box. So all the way down, not to the top.
Okay,
That's that's a
different range of motion.
That's a poor man's handstand. So they're on there. So next time we come back, we'll have to get a bar or something. And, We'll have that as like a right time to show what we can do. So now you've got your 100 push-ups. Let's tick that off.
Do you know what? You're right. 100%.
We've got to write some goals on the episode.
Do you know what? The great thing is I always say the faintest of ink is better than the best memory. So what we've got here, so these are my 3.
I'll read them out, read them out.
Please do.
So 100 push-ups in one set, right? That's squashed.
Tick.
5 kilometre run under 20 minutes, okay? And 40 pull-ups in one set. All right, good. How far are you on the 40 pull-ups?
My max I've ever done is 30 in one set.
Okay.
Right now, I'd probably say 20 to 25 if I was to be realistic. Don't ask me if I can do that. I'll put the asterisk there now.
I was more going to go for the 5K.
Okay. So I think now for me, obviously it's still going to be building on my push-ups because I'm so grateful that do you know what? The good thing about this as well now is now this is ticked, I could probably go to doing this maybe. Now, I'll probably still keep to this program, but now the focus is more going to be on the running. Right. So, start of June now, that's where my program and process is going to be leading and heading towards. But one of my friends, his name's Harry Deans. His name's Harry Deans. He's just come from the London Marathon, ran a 2:39. So, like I'm going to be, that's it. So I'm getting him on the show soon. So essentially that will be a good chance to kind of learn some, similar to how I did with the push-ups and like learning from the OGs who are way beyond what I'm trying to achieve, that my goal becomes very manageable. Yeah, right. Similar here, I want to do it whereby I'm going to get, sit down with him. I've interviewed another guy, Chris Harger. He's got a 2:58 or... Let's talk about the 5K times. His time's like 17 minutes something, 17:30.
What's your 5K time?
At the moment, it's poor. We're talking like, I did it the other day in like 28 minutes.
So that's a big drop. That's a big
challenge, that one. I've done it before, but as in talking about what you've done 5-10 years ago, it doesn't really, is irrelevant kind of thing. So it's, but I know I can do it. That's the thing. This one, the push-ups, this was the first time I've done this. Versus with and again, please send this to me because I have to use this. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm actually, especially with the weather looking a bit nicer now, I'm going to enjoy it because a lot of, from what I understand and what I've researched so far is to get those times up, 80% of your work is in that easy range. Right. Similar to like those push-ups which I did there. Most of the work I've been doing to them was easy in terms of, when I say easy, to the level of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Doing 12 sets of, so this week I had 12 sets of 12, 144. That is easy.
Not easy, yeah, it's not easy.
Relatively, yeah, do you know what I mean? Easy for doing over 12 minutes. I'm like, okay, but having done that, the hard session was the 8-minute plank. That's the one which tests me. But putting those together, so similar now to the running, 80% of my runs are probably going to be pace where I'm like, really? Like, as in, you just have to put a podcast on, probably squeeze the neck on in the background.
Which podcast, bro?
Yeah. Put an episode on, listen to it.
Podcast where you've done 100 push-ups. You still go, 5 more.
That's it. And it's like, I'll do that. But then you've then got to do 20% where you're doing like your threshold runs, your intervals, your tempos.
Right.
So I get it in theory, but I always find it's nice to hear it from someone who's about that. The same way someone talking to you about how they can win a fight, but they've never actually had one.
Yeah.
It's a bit, yeah.
You put them in a certain category.
Do you know what I mean?
Sweetheart. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it's interesting you say that. A few things you were saying there about like goals in the book and things like that. I recently read Roger Gracie's book, which is fantastic. You know Roger Gracie?
Yeah.
I did a seminar with him yesterday as well, which is brilliant.
Oh, amazing.
Really, really brilliant. Very sort of like straight to the point. He's not teaching sort of like backflip spinning stuff that you know whatever, but it's very to the point and very very good on details and whatever. You know, go and do a seminar with him. Don't let me tell you about it. But he was, you know, I read that book and it was very much about like the mindset about things and whatever, which I really recommend that book. I said to you before as well. I've started like getting into reading sort of people's books and stuff, really, like trying to pretend you're smart in it. You know what I mean? But and stuff like that. And then when you go forward with like push-ups like that. Push-ups are the most basic exercise we learn, right? It's the first one. So I feel like there's something to that, isn't it, of just doing the basics over and over again.
And that's really where it's come from, because it's like, my love's not all, as much as I've done multiple martial arts, boxing, 100%, there's something about it that
That's
just,
yours, yeah.
that's mine. But then as I've grown the brand, the storyline, everything, and the mission of what I'm doing, trying to inspire, motivate, empower others to achieve their goals, I've realized that I was focusing more on the vehicle than the outcome.
Yeah.
People want to be stronger. They want to live longer. Hell, so now it's more of a better way to be stronger and live longer than just to get good on the push-ups on the floor and just get better with your hands to be able to use things. Yeah. Like even this now, this could be used as a tool as to work my forearm, squeeze it, do all this. So it's now. But these are all foundational parts which I've also included in boxing. Having a good grip when you land your punch, having the strength to be like push-ups. All militaries have that part of their tests. So it's now bringing it more, as much as it's still about, boxing is the vehicle to get you there. Let's look at the outcome of what you're looking for. You want to get stronger. You want to live longer. The two things we're going to start you off with is push-ups and grip, because now that person doesn't need me to be there to serve them. They watched a video, they read a book, they're like, right, he's motivating me. Like, I'm not sure, you might have seen the video I put on Instagram on Friday. It was like a mate of mine's birthday. Or not a birthday, but I was out. And then come back about 3:30, getting back through my messages as you do. And then I got Javan, he's messaged like, oh, we're talking. And I'm like, he's trying to ask some stuff. I'm like, bro, let's fall in love with the work again. Like, let's fall in love with the work. It's all good talking about X, Y, and Z, but the fundamentals, fall in love with the work. And as he's doing that, he's like, it's 4:00 in the morning now. He's like, bro, I'm shadowboxing in my kitchen. And then I'm like, oh, he got me fired up now more. So I'm like, do you know what? Let's inspire, put some content on, put the camera up. I go up against my wall, start doing some handstand push-ups, literally, 4:30 in the morning. Yeah, just for banner. But it's just more, again, it's that going back to that motto of stay ready. Results or excuses. Yeah. It's like, I'm not as disciplined as Floyd coming back from the clubs, running home and not drinking. I'm saying, but if you've had a few, in moderation, that is, and you feel like doing something, do a little bit. It's just like results or excuses, you choose. And that's kind of the motto. And I'm also happy to take the results when the results aren't great. Yeah. So as in, rather than being like, oh yeah, for instance, when I said about I thought I did 90. So in the video, I'm counting out 90. When I rewatched it, I got 88. Yeah. I could give a list of excuses for, well, actually, I did give those excuses. But the thing is, those are all just excuses. Yeah. The results are, it's 88, you got all the other stuff.
It don't matter.
Do you get what I mean? It's like, so, and it's just there, kind of bringing myself back to that mindset.
Yeah, I like the basic things to improve. Like I've been doing martial arts like forever as well, but like in the last year I started doing judo and kyokushin karate as well, and I like the belt system because it's like an extra like little. That you got to do something specific to get to there. Do you see what I mean? Which I think is important for progress because we all have. You said it earlier, like where you go. It's a bit vague the goal, and you just want to get better, and then you look back at the year and you go. Did I trained hard a lot, but do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I put the pieces together. And it goes from there. But in your book, which I'm going to read, everyone else should read it too. But like, it's a step-by-step sort of process.
Absolutely, yeah. In terms of smart goals, making them specific, measurable, attainable, or achievable. I say relevant. So it's like making it relevant towards you, something that's important, and then time-bound because that's how to measure it. But then, and again, speaking of judo. Obviously, Ronda Rousey's return. I guess we're going to probably come to that a bit later.
We'll come to it, yeah.
But,
last night, as we see here.
Yeah, last night or this morning.
Did you watch it?
I watched it this morning, literally. I watched it 5 times. The length of it.
Yeah,
Basically, you watch the main one and they put it on repeat the next 3 or 4.
Right.
It was done. But the reason I share that and why I brought that back up is more, sometimes less is more. Sometimes people want to do all the fancy. She knows what she's good at. I'm going to come in there, give me one of your arms and it's gone.
Yeah.
That's all that the job is. And sometimes it's like, oh, but you're a one-trick pony. With that one trick, well, I hope to be a one-trick pony one day. To where
the trick comes, it's about getting to the trick.
That trick, yeah.
Exactly.
To where it's that, but it's that fundamentals are so good. It's almost then like they say like the student practices until they get it right.
Yeah.
When the master practices until they can no longer get it wrong.
Right. Okay.
And it's like it's a place where until you're in a space where you can no longer get it wrong. Then you haven't really got it. You should still be working on it. We've got to get you in
Jiu Jitsu, I think, so we can get you going through this because I think you, like the way you're thinking is important. But like we're on it, so let's go into the Netflix show that happened last night. Ronda Rousey was that top of the bill?
Top of the bill, yeah.
After,
top of the bill.
She fought Gina Carano.
17-year retire. I can't remember. Was it 17 or 17 years? Yeah.
So she's last fought, and she's in her mid to late 40s.
40s, yeah, 44, I think she is, yeah.
I thought she was 47.
Oh, is she? Well, yeah, 44. I think so.
Sorry if I'm aging you, Gina. But what do you think of the fight?
The fight, Ronda did what she does. Like the card, I like the fact that UFC have now got competition on the block.
Do you think they have, though? That's what I'm getting at. That's what I was going to come to.
The thing is, what I mean by that, when I say they've got competition, UFC are in the business of entertainment.
Yeah.
Now, they've developed a sport, it's the closest thing to, well, one championship also have that similar format, but as in like, as I say that they've created a league, so therefore, for fans, the UFC, I haven't said it's going to compete to UFC today, but I'm saying in terms of the fact of entertainment and for MMA, this brought just as many eyes as, like last weekend's fight, which was just happening after the Triple D versus Wardley. Great card. Loads of my friends were talking about it. I'm sure there's lots of fights. If I were to watch, it would catch my attention. But these days, I'm more of a casual MMA. So as in there, unless you're invested, before when I used to watch Ultimate Fighter, all the shows, when there was like Rampage, Rashad Evans, all of these killers like Isa, Chocolate, like there I was invested, do you know what I mean? I was watching it the whole card start to finish. Now, like, well, I'm just a bit busier but the main thing, the reason why I say I do think it's competition is because they're creating financial opportunities for the fighters, but I say it's more in terms of it's a business. So it's not necessarily going to compete, being able to have the continuous cards that the UFC had. But I almost look at that as the UFC, we're talking about a business that started in the 1990s, taken over by the Fertitta brothers, was actually before them because they bought it off, was it the Gracie family and stuff?
I think it was someone called Meyerwoods was his name.
Yeah.
Something Meyerwoods, but he bought it from the Gracies and whatever. They didn't buy it directly from the Gracies.
But yeah, so it's more of like, and from there, and that was probably before then, we're talking about Valetudo, which was around there. So it's like, this is a space which has been built really for the last 35 plus years, comparing to a company which had their first show.
Yeah.
It's like comparing a Queensbury Promotions which has been going on since the 70s, 80s, or a Matchroom which has been going on from a bit less time, but still, 1983 or something long enough, when Frank Bruno and who's the Aussie guy, Chuck Webner came over for a fight. So that is how they started. But now, fast forward, 40 years, you've got Matchroom being acquired for, $1 billion valuation or £1 billion valuation, selling 15% of their capital to Brewing Capital for a minority share, so the Hearns still control the entity. But I'm more saying that is what's happened after 40 years. If we now look at most valuable promotions and what they've done for women's combat, let's just look at the boxing side already. They are outshining any other platform in terms of championing women boxing. Mm-hmm. And they've been around for less than 5 years, and they compete with those who've been around for 40 plus. Mm-hmm. If I now look at MMA and I look at most valuable promotions, what they've done, what Nikisa and Jake have done currently from that one show, getting Ronda Rousey, Francis Ngannou, Nate Diaz, and being like, having the bottle to say, I've stepped in with one of you twice, and I'm willing to step in with, even after my chin got done by AJ, I'm willing to step in against Ngannou. I'm for the entertainment, I'm for the opportunities for the fighters, and I think it's competition. It's like, is Nike competition to On Cloud? A lot of people would say, really? But now, Nike has been around for so much longer, 1973, On Cloud, I'm seeing a lot more of them walking around these days, those shoes. Give it time. So I do think it's competition. They've got a way to go, but that's like comparing a toddler to Mike Tyson at 12 compared to any fighter. Or no, Mike Tyson at 6 years old compared to any fighter when they're 25, 30.
See, I look at it more like UFC Premier League. They're like the Saudi League, for example.
Good gig.
A lot of money going into it, but the quality's not the same. Do you know what I mean? They've got one superstar, Ronaldo, in Ngannou, but like, do you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't look at them as competition. I think it's like there's a reason they're fighting there. Do you know what I mean? And I get it. It's a bit like, it's not quite as clear as that, because Ngannou's reason isn't because he's not good enough. He was the champ when he left. But the other guys like...
But why did he leave?
Well, there's a lot of... I think the contractual thing of he wanted to box as well was a big part of it. There's a lot. You don't know who to listen to, right? We don't know. We're not there.
But we know it's more on the business side of things, which kind of tore things apart. Yeah.
But there's a reality. Ronda Rousey, like, I know she won quick last night, but she got beaten in the last 2 fights 10 years ago. The competition passed her by, is the reality. Do you know what I mean? If she went into the UFC now, she ain't getting a title. She ain't going to do well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
You see what I mean? Like, Gina Carano wouldn't be in the UFC. On a
currently,
right? Let's
100%,
be honest.
yeah.
Right? She's 40, whatever, right? And listen, you got beaten 17 seconds. I know Ronda Rousey was doing that to people in the UFC back in the day, but again, I think the sport passed her by. If you look at Mike Perry and Nate Diaz, they've both been in the UFC, and they are UFC caliber fighters, right? But they had a great fight and whatever. Ngannou fought someone who'd also been in the UFC lightweight division. But I feel like it's more of a... They've gone there after the UFC. That they're not building people up. And I know what you're saying about it could be a time thing, but I feel like the UFC is the big dog. And
they are. But I think and still, Frank Warren, Queensbury's still the big dog. Matchroom's still the big dog. But MVP are fighting hard. That's what I'm saying. They've got a Sky Sports deal. They've got Netflix deals. They're created opportunities. There's a lot of fighters who aren't even on these networks at all. Yeah. So it's more of like, I don't mind a bit of competition. Yeah. So after one card, it's someone who's showing up one. I almost say consistently good is better than occasionally great. Yeah, right, this is occasionally great. This is a great night of entertainment, which we've had. But if they're just popping up once every 2 years or once every couple of months, then that's not going to compete with an entity that's doing 40, 50 shows a year on a global scale. So 100%, I'm not.
What do you think is due for boxing? Because I think that's coming. I think that's a big deal. I think they're coming.
I think they have the potential to be a big deal. I think right now, it's a lot more talk.
See, I think they're more competition than the Netflix card is to UFC. As in,
absolutely.
Like the boxing heads.
But now also we're talking about an established brand if you look between the UFC and the WWE. So in terms of sports entertainment, they've got it on lock.
Right.
In 2 other fields.
I just think Dana White's the best promoter in the world. I really think he's a level above the others. I think the way he does things and the way he builds it, I think he's look at your track record, and people moan about a fighter pay for the UFC. There's a reason they've been around, and every other company goes under.
Do you know? I respect Dana White. I've not met him yet. Would love to connect with him. I respect Dana White, and his hustle is serious. I do find that if I were to meet him, there's a lot more. How can I call it? What's it called? Not the gates. The you know, the people who kind of ring fence the main guy. So like, let's say Eddie, when I see him, you could walk, hey Eddie, how you could more like to have a conversation, right, okay. Ask him a chat, and unfiltered questions.
I don't think Dana White is. I think he's very unfiltered.
Well, Dana White, he's unfiltered in terms of what he says, but to be able to get to the chance to ask him the question, you're probably not going to get the access initially.
Yeah, okay.
Is in like, and then also Eddie gives more access to certain people who've got bigger names. Granted, I give him that. Most do. But I would say Eddie and Frank are people who've still given me time.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
They've let me into their shows. They've given me their time when I didn't even really have a channel yet going about. So it's one of them whereby we're talking about people who've been in the game, in this sport longer. And boxing is just more of the Wild West than MMA. Like,
that's why I think Zuffa will do well, because I think if everyone, like the UFC, what the UFC's done to MMA, I think Zuffa boxing's got the potential to do the boxing. They've already got Jai Apataya, which is like, he's the best cruiserweight in the world, yeah? I mean, okay, there's a bit of an argument now with the Mexican monster, right?
But now it's almost going back to the times of old, where now it's like, oh, you're on that side of the fence, we're on this side, so we can't get it on.
But what if that side of the fence is where all the best fighters go? Eventually. So all the best fighters are on that side of the fence, and if you're not on that side of the fence, whatever.
So maybe,
you got me. You get where I'm coming from?
Maybe if we have this conversation again in 2050, I think we could.
2050, bro. Slow down. 2030. Behave yourself.
Okay, let's go. So I think then we'll be able to have more of a look. Yeah. But I'd say at the moment, I'm going more by what I see. When you say we're the best, biggest boxing promotion currently, these shows, their shows, it's like beating up babies. These shows are nothing. As someone who's in the industry, who's watching it, granted, my scope is more viewing from a London perspective, because I don't travel all around the world. I stay in touch with what's happening around the world, but I only really go to mainly the London events. I'm yet to see Zuffa put on a big show in London. I'm yet to see Zuffa put on a show where there's 20,000 people, where there's 50,000 people. I'm yet to see them put on 10 shows in a year.
But yeah, I get you. But
so I'm just saying, it's results or excuses.
No.
So that's where I'm looking at those results. But so I'm just looking at the results. The results are what the results are.
But look at the UFC, and they're the same. They're the same bracket.
But now, exactly.
Have you been to a 20,000 seater show in the UK for UFC?
Funny story about that.
Better than any boxing show.
I'm sure it probably could have been. With that, I actually had tickets for that. I had box tickets for the Leon Edwards in 2020. Just when when the one that fight that got cancelled because of the pandemic kicking in.
I think he was supposed to fight Tyron Woodley.
That was the one.
And it got cancelled. Yeah.
That was the one. That was going to be my first UFC. I had the tickets all covered.
Mate, I can tell you now. You know I love boxing. I was a boxer first. I had 12 fights in boxing before I ever did anything else. But the UFC the show is better than boxing. And I tell you what they do best, which is, and it changed a little bit now, but like we was at the Usyk Dubois fight together, weren't we? Right, we're sitting there. You know what it's like before the main event? No one's really there, right? And between the fights, there's like what should we do? Let's go and get some water because there's nothing's happening. Whereas the UFC's on and it's like to the next, and it's always sort of action. Do you know what I mean? And it's packed from the start as well, which is different to me. Like I'd have a much better night at the UFC than I would boxing. Now, having said that, when I say much better, I'm gonna have a great night at boxing as well. Do you know what I mean? We were sitting there. We won't say who it was, but there was a fight with a certain nickname before the main event, and we were going, "Hang on, calm yourself down, calm yourself down." But we'll get to that.
I know exactly.
You know what we're talking about.
But saying that, he did give the current world heavyweight champion trouble at one point.
You're getting too specific.
No. But we didn't say what the name. We're not saying what the name. We're not saying the name is being called. That's the bit that pushed it over the line.
When I heard that, me and you had it was like a pause, wasn't there? Take a breath out, man. Yeah, easy now.
But I agree with what you're saying there, and I think for the fans, there's two sides. I'm for fighters first. Then fans next.
Yep.
Where you're sharing it, it sounds like you're coming from a fan perspective first, then fighter next.
I think they go hand in hand Because if the fans are there, the fighters are getting more money. And people, if there's more fans watching. Is
that how the UFC works?
Well, think about this.
But is that how the UFC works?
Well, I'll get to it, but think about this, right? If more people, if me and you watched, and it's just me and you in the O2 watching the fight, versus the O2's packed. I know this is an extreme example, it's not very realistic, but the fighters getting more money if there's millions of people there? Thousands of people there, millions watching it on TV, right? Now, the UFC, there's a reason they've been there for so long. And if you look at these champions, I don't know what they're earning, right? But look at the cars they're driving, the lifestyle they're living. They're earning money.
The thing is, I look at it this way. Their biggest star, who I grew up watching, Spider, got an out of court, in court, I don't know, allegedly, because obviously I don't know all of the stories. He got a settlement. Have you heard of that story where he got a settlement for not back pay, but essentially.
Right, but there was a thing with the UFC about certain things with the contract. I don't know the ins and outs.
Yeah, and that's why I just put the word allegedly, because I don't know the detail enough to speak out.
Here's the point. You brought up the Spider. Have you seen the house he lives in when he was on the Countdown show? I mean, he ain't hurting for a pound note.
But I don't saying about hurting. I'm more saying, let's say Mayweather made 250, 300 million from his top fights. If he made 70 million, he wouldn't have been hurting either. No. But you get to eat what you kill. So I look at that.
They wouldn't have anywhere to fight. Without the UFC, there would be nowhere for them to fight.
But it's more of, it's like it gets to a stage where I call it more of like a shift, where the power dynamic shifts. First, you're doing me a favor, then I'm doing you a favor. As in, like, when I say.
But also, my thing with it as well is they signed a contract.
And that's what. You can't.
They ain't been forced to do this.
And you're not
pulled out. You know what I mean?
But that's what I'm more saying that. But contracts are a reason to be negotiated. That's the reason why we've got lawyers and stuff, to be able to renegotiate, to have these things in place. So it's like when your buying power changes, so let's say, for instance, now you're getting, let's say, 100 views on this. Your sponsor, shout out whoever they are. I'm not going to call because I haven't got it on your top
reality.
Today. Okay, reality. Okay, I wanted to make sure it's still them in case I say reality. And then you're like, bro, it's not them anymore. So it's like, because I know you normally got reality on you. So yeah, so let's say now, reality being showing you love, they're supporting you, given what they're doing. Now all of a sudden, you're getting 1 million+ views per video. Yeah. And reality's saying, yeah, we want to give you an extra 10%. But you're like, but someone down the road is saying that they're willing to give me 10 times what we're currently going.
This is my point. This is where loyalty comes into me. To me, loyalty is everything. If me and you right now, for example, you're going to sponsor this podcast now. You're going to sponsor this podcast? We get to it. But like, jokes aside, you're going to sponsor this podcast now, and you say to me, Ollie, okay, cool. I'm going to give you £100 a month, and that's what we're going to do for round number sake. Yeah. I'm going to give you £100 a month, and blah blah blah. And fantastic. You post for me this, X, whatever the deal is. That's it. Okay, cool, great. All of a sudden, you start going, I'm not paying you anything anymore. You broke the contract, obviously. Now, all of a sudden, your company blows up and you're earning hundreds of millions. It goes the other way. Oh, but Kieran, I got you that because of the views. You know what I mean? We signed a contract for £100 a month. You're earning now, let's go crazy and extreme, you're earning £1 million a month. And I've got you that from my views. As an extreme example, you with me? Because of me, you've got that. Yeah. Should you give me more money?
I think when it comes time for the new renewal, I don't. Based on that contract,
we signed a contract.
But I'm saying, but when that new renewal comes about,
but that's different.
But that's exactly what I'm referring to. But then it's a place where, if you don't want to entertain those conversations, say, well, actually, this is the deal we've got, and I'm not appreciating the value that you've brought to me, and I'm saying, well, last time it was worth £100 a month, so why not do now £100 a month? And you're like, Kieran, respectfully, that £100 a month you invested in me is giving you 100 million back return.
But you did what you said.
Yeah, I know. But you're saying, but I say for that, I feel that you've got a right to negotiate harder now and ask for more than £100 a month.
Of course, but you've also got the right to go, no.
No, absolutely, 100%.
I said £100.
100%.
You signed it.
There we go. But that's what I mean, and that's what I love. But then let's say now, but if you don't have the right to speak to someone else down the road who's saying, actually, I can now get £1,000 a month for that same podcast.
But why would I not have the right to speak to someone else?
Because of the contract that we've got.
I signed that contract.
But that's what I'm saying is that's...
Don't sign it.
But that's...
You with me? Do you see what
I'm
talking about?
I 100% get that. But that's part of the part where I say, when people get locked into a situation between a rock and a hard place, I'm not going to say, well, you just fell in that place. I'm also going to say, well, I can just say, it's tough. But there's also another part where I look and say, if the shoe was on the other foot, what would be the ideal scenario for me? Would I prefer to be in a place where I sign a contract which essentially doesn't matter how good I do, my terms don't improve much more? Or would I prefer to sign a contract that says, based on my performance...
But that's a different conversation.
But the thing is, but that's how I work as a man. And the reason I say it is most of the jobs I do have either been working in sales or working for myself. So it's a eat what you kill type of mindset and mentality I've had for my jobs. So I don't sign those typical contracts where it says, I show up X, Y, and Z and you just give me this.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. But
So,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But I'm saying if that is the only option, then okay,
that's
what
the
you
only
do.
option. Don't fight. Don't sign it. Go and work in Sainsbury's.
Or go. There's so many other work.
If this is your dream, they've given you the opportunity. To me, this is where I go. You signed it.
But MVP is now giving another. I almost look at them as.
You can, but MVP, pay them 10 times more. Great, fantastic. Not I think they are, but let's just say you go and pay them 10 times. You're not UFC champion. You're a UFC champion or what? You can't have it always.
And that's it. And it's a trade-off. And for me,
And listen, let's be honest. Sorry to cut you off, but like, if you're a UFC champion, you're making proper money. Yeah, you are. They're like, there's...
Relatively.
But...
Relatively. The reason I say relatively is more of you're making proper money in comparison to your average salary.
But multi-millionaire. They're all multi-millionaires. UFC
but multi-millionaire, there's levels to it. So what I mean by that is in like, let's say, if you're playing football in an elite level, you're good.
Yeah.
But then the top of the elite, that top 1% are creaming.
Yeah.
I don't see in MMA the top 1% creaming.
How much do you think McGregor makes?
Okay, so the top one. No, but exactly. But he creamed he creamed the most when he got into boxing.
Yeah, but
I'm saying that one fight,
How did he get it?
Of course, he built his brand through there.
Through them.
So obviously, I rate UFC. I rate what they're doing. I'm just more saying that there's a balance, and that there's an element whereby boxing is still where the dollars are at. That's
like what Dana White says about boxing makes sense to me. It's like every show is going out of business sale.
And I agree.
And what also is like going back to what I said earlier. Like, let's be honest. When we went to Dubois Usyk, did we care about any other fight on that card? Be honest.
Not really.
No, we missed some of them because we was buying a bottle of water. Right? Whereas in UFC, ain't like that. All the fights are relevant. So when the thing, and listen, this is not like I'm a UFC apologizer, but it's just the way I see it, right?
Yeah,
so it's like all the people on the card, the money's more spread out versus like in boxing, like. I'm not with you, but I've been at shows and I know you have as well, where you're at pro boxing fights and there's a world title on the top, but you know there's some geezer from South America or wherever he's from that's been flown over, he's getting paid £500 on the undercard.
Yeah.
Right?
I get what you're... As a competitor athlete, I completely agree with what you're saying.
But to me, that makes it more geared towards getting to the top.
100%.
To me, I guess a better way to put it would be like, just because you sort of turn and you get to a sort of okay level, turn over as a pro, and you get to an okay level, you should be set for life. To me, it's like, you got to go want to get to the top, so the top guys get paid.
See,
you know what I mean?
True. I look at it more as boxing, professional boxing, I don't see as a sport. That's the thing is, I see as if someone wants to do the sport of boxing, you do amateur boxing. If you become a pro, you're now in business who happens to do a sport or do something which is physical, and we call it the sport of boxing. But the sport side of it is in the amateurs, i.e. you're fighting at the level you're supposed to fight.
Right.
It's the leagues. Boxing, as you said, you're a contractor. You're UFC, more, you've got a job. And I think that's more, because boxing is more of a space where it is, you're a contractor. We have to reshape the infrastructure of it.
I don't see it that way because, like, if you've got a contract with Matchroom, for example, you've got, let's say, as an example, five fight contract. You've got to fight them 5 fights out. That's the same as UFC.
But the reason I say it's like it's a business now is because, let's say, when you're in the UFC and you're having, or in your amateurs, and let's say you've got your 5 fights. Those 5 fights are people who are your level, who. It's a toss-em fights. Like, you've entered tournaments where, maybe there's some people slightly below, but they've earned their right to belong there. It's like you're top 16, you're top 32, whoever else, you're going through, you're fighting them, that's your level. Your first 5 fights you sign for that contract, you're here to put on a show and to develop your skill set.
But that depends who you are. Because not everyone. That's the top guys that are looking to go to the top. But if you're a journeyman, it ain't that case.
But therefore, if you're a journeyman now, it's still the business. Your business is you show up.
That's your job.
But that's what I'm saying. Everyone's got different contracts and different terms to where they need to fit into their space. Similar to as Dave Allen said, he said, "Look, I'm considered like a world-class journeyman almost. Like, as in, I know I'm not quite there, versus he could have done it the other way, where he's fighting people way below his level and just be a ticket seller.
Yeah.
But he's like, do you know what? I prefer to be a top journeyman than a top ticket seller and test myself.
And of course, you can earn a lot more money doing that too.
Good, you know what I mean?
But the UFC, to me, I look at it as like the Premier League.
Yeah, 100%.
You've got to get there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
You've got to get there.
100%. But boxing doesn't
have that.
That's it.
Because you can be we've seen it a million times. You can be in a very dangerous fight. Someone can be in a very dangerous fight that they're not necessarily ready for. Do you know what I mean? And maybe they'll never be ready for. Do you know what I mean? It's different if you're on up and up and you're coming up and you take a step too far and you get beat. I'll give you an example. Would be like Anthony Yard.
Yeah.
Right when he fought Kovalev, the first loss, right? So he was it his first loss was Kovalev?
Yeah, Kovalev, then Turbiev, and then obviously the
Monster.
monster.
He lost in the middle as well, didn't he? On a split. He
Oh,
lost to Lyndon Arthur.
yeah.
So, but regardless, on the way up, he's fighting Kovalev. He's got to the world title. Now, most people looked at it like, oh, he ain't ready for Kovalev, and he wasn't. But hey, that's the risk you take. And he's like, he's right there, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? He's just whatever.
100%.
But he's still, to me, it's like he's fighting at his level. He's just not quite as good as him. Do you see where I'm coming from? Whereas like with the UFC, you got to get to the UFC. Then you got to break in the top 15. Then you got to do. And I know boxing's got a bit of that too. But to me, if you sign a 5-fight contract with someone, you got to honour that contract or don't sign it as a man.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know
agreed,
what I mean?
yeah.
And you can't moan about after. Like that's what I don't like is when someone goes, because I signed the contract, but it's like no, there ain't no but. You signed it.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with there is that. It's results or excuses. Like your signature's at the bottom of that. But then I almost compare that to say, that's almost like saying, tell every person you know to never complain about the job they do.
Yeah, but that's not the same though, is it?
No, but I'm saying...
Because they're not chasing their dream doing that job. This is where I change on it.
But some
because if you want to fight in the UFC and that's your dream, that you know, listen,
but
a
your
lot of
dream
people
comes
take
with
a pay cut.
downside.
Of course it does.
Listen,
Yeah,
I'm chasing my dream. There's things that I can complain about.
Yeah,
I don't openly complain about because what does it serve? What's it doing for me? Yeah. But we're not going to enjoy all the things of what we aspire towards.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
But you got to take it because
Yeah,
if you
just
want to
take on the treat.
Like Paddy Pimblett spoke about it. I think I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure he spoke about like when he first signed for the UFC. Obviously not now because he's making proper money as he's got to a bigger star. But when he first entered the UFC, he took a big pay cut to fight for the UFC, and that's the choice you got to make. That's it. Do you know what I mean? If you don't fight for the UFC, then earn more money. But you'll never be UFC champion.
But I want the money to stay for the fighters. So it's more of a place of it's like, I get it as for the sport in terms of the sport of boxing. If it was more like the UFC and then you had one entity who's controlling everything, then you will get better matchups. It'll be more competitive. I see the benefits there. For the fighters who have made it to the top, they just seem to have less control and less remuneration with that being their only option. And I just like fight. I like whoever they can to just do well. But I want both to thrive. So I kind of look at it as the Premier League doesn't stop League One or Series A being great spaces.
That's what I'm getting.
Do you know what I mean?
And that's exactly
so
how
it's
I
like,
see it.
But I see that that's kind of where that's where I see MMA is now. Because like, okay, UFC could be like considered like the Premier League. It's got all the glitz and glamour on a global scale.
And you got to be honest, UFC belt the world title. That's it. That's the world title. To me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to most people watching, like, if you're a UFC champion, it doesn't matter if you're PFL champion. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And it's an extremely high level. I know people are fighting at PFL, but you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Like, if you've got both on the table and it's like, I'm PFL champion, UFC champion, let's unify the belt. It's like, it ain't really unifying the belts. That's the real champion. And you're like in a feeder league sounds disrespectful, but you see where I'm coming from. And it's like, it's a notch down to me. It's like, get to the UFC, then win that belt. Is how
But I also do rate one championship.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
of course.
is in like
they
what,
do a great show. I've been at one of their shows out in America. Great show.
So it's in like, and so I like how there are the different sort of setups there, and that works well for MMA. I think with boxing, with how old it is, considering it's the oldest sport, is in, and again you'll read about it in the book from the Sumerian times. So bringing it back to you, obviously May 23rd coming up with Usyk versus Rico. That is that's the home of where boxing started. Right. So they're bringing it back to the Sumerian times in terms of the origins. We think we're talking. See, that's the power. You can read it in a book. I don't even want to misquote it.
You sure you wrote that book?
I don't remember what I said last week. But it's like I want to say 1600 BC, but it might even be further behind.
That sounds cool.
So we'll go 1600. So I'm saying it is very dated. So it's one of those things whereby.
But so is MMA. because you can trace that back to the ancient Greek Olympics, and that was called pancration.
Pancration. But that's what I mean.
People call it pancration. I'm trying to be smarter and say pancration. I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. But like all sports were, like the oldest sport, if we're going to be real honest in terms of the world, what would you say is probably the oldest sport, if you had to think about it?
But in my mind, I thought boxing's the new name we give it.
Yeah, no,
but
I'm not talking about that. Yeah, I know. I'm talking
yeah,
about the act of it. What would you say? I would say wrestling, personally.
Yeah, but I see boxing. It's only once they added the Queensberry rules and the London Prize rules where
start putting gloves on and stuff.
Stop putting gloves on. Stop. You can't eye gouge.
Yeah,
you
no
can't
kicking as
do
well.
certain kicks out. So boxing typically was more than just your fist.
It
was pugilism.
Yeah.
So it's like that is 100%. So and even now, boxing, wrestling still exists in it. If somebody boxes at the elite level and they haven't got some inside control, like the best fighter on this planet, in boxing on this planet, Usyk, who's kind of proven himself, he's just pretty much showing that he wrestles on once a week.
Yeah.
One of the other top pound for pound boxers who's recently retired, Terence Crawford, he's wrestled as well. Yeah. So it's in like, people can maybe not see it and say, oh yes, I see as well, if you're doing it at the top, that's what they do it. It's the same way it's like, dancing and footwork helps in these spaces.
I'm a believer as well that all fightings come from the same sort of origin and they go off and specialise. Like if you go as an example, like boxing focused on punches, judo focused on throws, wrestling do you know what I mean? Control takedowns, jiu-jitsu submission, on and on and on and on. But in reality, if you see two kids fight, they might swing some punches at each other, grab a hold of each other, end up falling on the floor trying to kick each other. Fighting's fighting. It just it specialises in here. Now the Usyk one you brought up with Verhoeven is a good example because they're going to fight in boxing rules. Now, if they fought in a kickboxing fight, probably ain't going well for Usyk. Right? Probably ain't going well for him. Now, in a boxing match, I don't think it's going to go well for Rico. Now, we'll find out, right? And good luck to him, because the brave thing to do is to jump in and step up when he's been a world champion for over 10 years in his own sport to come over. Now, of course, he's getting paid well for it, I'm assuming. But do you see what I'm saying? It's a brave thing to do, and people knock it. Like people knock Jake Paul. Brave thing to do, stepping in with AJ, wouldn't it? But we're going off topic. But like, what do you think about this fight? Are you for it or against it?
I'm for it. Do you know what? But with a lot of these things, I don't like to say a politician, but more in terms of I like each person to do what's right to them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because I like to move to the rhythm of my own heartbeat, and a lot of times I really don't care what other people think. Like last night we were out. Another friend's birthday. May seems to be birthday month, so I'm doing like this. We're in the club now, Shoreditch, after on the way back. And literally, I'm out here doing my grip test. They're doing it. I'm like, oh, let's see if I still got 60. Some people be like, nuts, mate. What's this guy on about? For me, I'm like, I really don't care. Yeah, so here, now, you've got a guy like Usyk who's saying, hey, do you know what? I've cleaned out the best of my division. There's these new pups coming through. They're hungry. Let them fight between themselves and let me see who's reigning in yours. And then I'll take one of you. But in the meantime, let me give myself a new challenge, undisputed versus undisputed. This MMA fighter. So from an entertainment perspective, and that's why I bring it back to how I see boxing. I see professional boxing as a business. If I saw it as a sport, I'd probably be vastly disappointed. How a lot of the other fans I've seen and what I've seen a lot in terms of being like, oh yeah, it's a bit of shame. Because they are the likes of Ajit Caballero, you know what I mean? You'd like to see a Moses Atalman. There's so many hungry fighters who want to get a shot. Obviously, Wardley before he just lost now. So there's a lot of people who could have deserved it. But I look at prize fighting as prize fighting. And here it's a place where it's like, okay, you've cleaned out your people of your generation and you're the undisputed on top now. You've got a chance to have a look at someone else who you've heard about, who's also a solid competitor, and he wants to have a scrap. Yeah, go on, why not? And you're going to throw a lot of money at me to do it in a place I've never boxed before? Yeah, sounds like a bit of fun to me. That's the angle I look at it from. So because of that, I'm like, yeah, I'm all for it. I'm a tune in. Am I expecting the most competitive boxing matches? And also, I like the chance for someone to, and also from Rico's angle as well. So, you know, his thing, like I interviewed him a little while back for his, it was just literally a mini interview. Like on the grip test, he got 66, by the way. Rico, yeah, Verhoeven. So I did the grip test with him. And when we were talking in that, I was like, okay, give me a bit of word of inspiration. And then he was talking about how sometimes if something bad happens, you've got to just keep moving forward, keep standing forward because something better might appear. And then his thing was, obviously, the thing that happened was he was supposed to be fighting Adrian that one fell through because obviously AJ had his tough time over Christmas period. So it's more of, and then now something better has appeared.
Fight, yeah.
Now he's got a chance. He's got the chance to become the world heavyweight champion in 2 professional boxing matches. That's never happened before. And I'm all for these fairy tale stories. Now, the likelihood of it actually happening, very slim. But if we're to rewind 10 years ago, the likelihood of Wardley ever becoming world heavyweight champion is also very slim. I'm saying the chances here are probably slimmer than Wardley becoming world heavyweight champion.
Well, Ngannou beating Fury, the chances.
You get what I mean?
Nothing.
Even
and
just
listen,
knocking him down.
He beat him to me.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
Beat him.
I had him.
He beat him. Like, I had him forget what the judges said. He did beat him. And I'm a big Fury fan.
Yeah.
Reality is reality. I agree with you. There's the chances are slim. I really like the fight, and I'll tell you why. Because he's a world champion in kickboxing. I think it's cool. It's quite a historic thing, right? They're fighting at the pyramids. I think it's cool. And also, it's like you said, Usyk's cleaned out the division. You mentioned that, and this is not disrespectful, but Caballero, are you going, I really want to see him fight Usyk? Not really, right? Let's be honest, right?
No. But I do think he deserves it, though.
He does. Let's be honest. It's not one of them fights that people go, he's not fighting Caballero.
But that's what I mean by being a business at boxing versus in MMA. We wouldn't be talking. We'd be like, well, he's earned his shot. He should be there.
Yeah, it is.
That's the
to
thing.
A point, but I think Usyk's earned the right to do what he wants as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of like, I think he's for lack of a better term, he's a man of honour, right? He's not doing it for money. I mean, of course he's doing it for money, but you get where I'm coming from. He's one of them types, and I feel like, listen, I'm for this fight. Let's watch it while it's here. It's a good thing to watch. And also, let's just say, if the upset happens, I mean, then what do we do? Because boxing kind of looks a bit silly, doesn't it? It's like, this kickboxer's come over here and like knocked out your boy.
Hey, if it happens, do you know what? I like Usyk, so I don't expect it to happen. I want him to win before his journey. But I like the upsets every now and again. Like this one, the thing is, I think, as well as it's saying it takes a mockery out of boxing, I think what it also does, it more just shows that how many unsung heroes don't get their time under the lights. And the reason I say that is because we'll be like, oh yeah, it takes a mockery of boxing. I'm like, well, he's been sparring Ajit Caballero for the last 10, 12 years. He's been sparring the Fury camp for the last 10, 15 years. So it's like, okay, so because we haven't heard of them on the mainstream, he's been cleaning up all the UFC, all the kickboxers in his space, killers in that division. Now he's been training.
Big man as well.
Yeah.
Big man.
He's been training with big people and legitimate boxers in the gym where probably you actually get more damage done.
Of course you do, yeah.
So it's like, but now again, I'm not expecting, because any of those fights I don't expect to be Usyk either. So it's one thing fighting Caballero, it's another thing it's one thing sparring Caballero, another thing fighting Usyk, because even in a spar.
And how do you think he approaches this, Rico?
Rico just goes in, tries to hit him hard, tries to smother his work.
Do you think you got some dirty stuff going on?
Oh yeah, you got to just smother, just like...
Well, I wondered as well what would happen. Not that I expect him to do it, but what would happen if he just out and blatantly, as soon as the bell run straight across, went bang, kicked him in the leg, like debilitated his leg. Like I don't think they'd DQ him straight away.
No, I think he would. I think.
But straight away in a big fight like that, if he went bang, sorry. Not that I think he would, right? Obviously, but if he did, just what do they do? Do they go straight DQ, or do they go 2 points, and he's limpid?
Yeah. Do you know? It's funny you say that, because do you remember there was a fight? Molly McCann, she's gone into There was one of the fights, she didn't do it, she was all right, but her opponent pulled up a knee or something like when she was fighting her. It was like always like trying to cheat, not when like you're trying to block a kick and stuff like that. I was like, whoa, that's when you know you're really getting attacked, when you're like,
you're in trouble now. We're up against it, boys.
So what would happen if that? I reckon it'd probably do like with what happened with Dubois. You get 5 minutes. Yeah. If you can recover.
That'd work quite well for Rico. Not like to do it, and it's a boxing match. But here's the thing: do you know who Donald Cowboy Cerrone is?
Yeah.
He said once on Joe Rogan's that if he was going to fight Floyd, because it was around the time of Conor, he said as soon as that bell went, I'd go straight across and kick him in the head and knock him spark out. And he was basically saying, I'd be a multi-millionaire, I'd be rich as, whatever. Now, obviously, Rico's not going to do that. But it's an interesting way to look at things, where it's like, if Rico threw a cheeky elbow inside, if Rico started using some of his tricks and whatever, it could get more interesting. Whereas if he stands off him and boxes him, I mean, he's no hope, right? He's got nowhere to go. But it'd be interesting. I'm interested in it. I'm interested in the fight.
I think it'll be good. And it's when you told about that story of Cowboy, it reminded me of Darren Till when he offered Fury, when him and Tommy were supposed to have it, and then he's like, "What? I'm just gonna kick you in the head, mate." And then Tommy, then I think he called the fight off or something like that.
He's like, "Oh, good luck for Tommy." That one, was it? It was a stranger. Yeah,
that's it. But again, now now he's up against Eddie Hall, so that should. At least he's got a slower opponent who's not going to kick him in the head.
No, it's an interesting fight, that one as well.
And that's where, for me, I'm all about the entertainment of it. If you want the sport, just the sport, watch the amateurs, because that's where the greats come from. The reason where we're talking about these next champions is because in the amateurs they did something, or some of them they didn't. But it's
Fabio Wardley as an example.
There we go.
Definitely didn't.
Or even Terence Crawford. Yeah. He
didn't achieve any medals.
Of note in comparison to his professional career. So it's one of those whereby, but off of that same note, I love that space where you can now create your own, you can reset, you can start your own story. And that's what makes boxing such a unique sport, even amongst the others, is it's the only sport where I kind of say, it is a business. And also, you got more chance to die in the ring, in boxing than anything else. Because again, MMA injuries, obviously, way
more
higher.
Injuries in terms of your body.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I turn up to training and stuff, I'll tweak a finger or like your leg get kicked. All them things. But boxing, is punches to the head constantly. Right? And that's when you see the people that, let's be honest, that are in their 50s, and you look at them and they're struggling on their conversation. We both know people, no names, absolutely, but we spoke to people and we've looked at each other and gone, oh, you know what I mean? He didn't used to speak like that, you know? And
15 deaths a year on average in boxing.
A year. Which is crazy.
So it's and that's what's reported
and
recorded.
In the history of the UFC. Imagine that.
That's it. Yeah. And it's and I think, and part of it is if we're to kind of not have a go at the sport, but if we're kind of looking at things that we want to see improve or change, how you were saying around the benefits that the UFC can bring to boxing. Part of my belief is I'd prefer on the day weigh-ins like it is in the amateurs.
The problem with that is though, I know what you're saying, but I also think the problem with that people are still going to cut loads of weight, and then it's just going to be closer.
But then,
you know what I mean?
and then that
people
kind of reduces the risk.
Just to make it more.
More dangerous. Yeah. That's it. But I think that's what I mean. It's more of the psychology and the beliefs around it. Versus if it was weigh-in and hydration tests, i.e.,
one championship do that.
So you need to ensure that your water levels are at least of this, because you've got those scales in there
as well, apparently. Can't you?
Oh, is it?
Because that's what one was saying. One of the, I forget what it was. Someone might be able to help me out. It was on Rogan, and he was saying there's a certain way you drink a certain amount of water, then you go to the toilet and you drink. I don't know the system, but there was some sort of way that it could weigh you in as hydrated when you're not. There was some kind of trick to it.
Yeah.
But the point is, I think. People are always going to try, I don't want to use the word cheat because it's not cheating, you're allowed to cut weight. But people will always try and gain that advantage. And if me and you have got 24 hours for a weigh-in and then suddenly they go 12, there's a chance one of us will go, I won't cut weight and I'll go up a division. The other one might go, I'll just cut a bit harder. Do you know what I mean? And then you're in a worse spot and things like that. But the also thing is this, if you're competitive at that level and fighting like that, you're going to do whatever you can. I don't think it's a rule change that helps the situation as much as it's like a culture thing.
And that's,
right? As this is what we do. Right? We all cut weight, or I'm not cutting weight. We all don't cut weight. For example, we don't, I don't hit you low because we fight for honour. You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? It's a cultural thing, not like a rules. I'm not allowed to hit you low. If you don't see it, bang. Do you see what I'm saying? There's an honour and a code to it. And I feel like that's the way it would change more.
And I think it's having that shift on that part of it in terms of to a place where, even if we're keeping it the same, but where we're not cutting weight as aggressively, because that's what the danger is.
How much do you weigh sitting in now?
Now 72.
Right, 72. So in MMA, there's 77 divisions. One that's sort of a big one in terms of how much people cut for visuals. If you ever come up against a welterweight in MMA, there's 77 kilos they fight at. You look up and you go, some of them. There's no way that man ever made 77 kilos if you cut one of his legs off. But they do, and they fight at it. You know what I mean? I was up in near Doncaster with a couple of guys that fought in the UFC. Shout out to the boys, Scotty Ascombe and Danny Mitchell. Danny Mitchell actually won a bare knuckle Vale Tudo fight, or bare knuckle fight last night. Sorry, he's fought Vale Tudo recently. Shout out to the boys. But they both fought in UFC. One of them fought at welterweight and one of them fought at middleweight, and they're roughly the same size. If anything, Danny might be a smidgen bigger on the day I'm with him. Right, they're not in fight camp, etc. But when you're with him, the point is, he's huge. If you looked at him and go, he fights at 77 kilos, you go, what? Ow! But he does. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, but people do it. Do you know what I mean? Like the famous one was Anthony Johnson. You remember Anthony Johnson?
Yeah,
Rumble?
yeah. Rumble, yeah.
They reckon like he was like they'd see him sleeping in the lifts and things on the way to the weigh-in because he was so depleted and whatever. But anyway, we go around in circles.
Yeah.
I think it's a cultural thing versus a rule because people will always fight just a little bit.
That's it. Yeah, I get it. But I think that's where a lot of the danger in all sports is danger, but especially in boxing because you just take to the head, to the head, to the head.
And there's nowhere to go. I don't think it's as solely the punches to the head. Obviously, that's what does the damage. But it's more like if I knock you down, you got time to recover. You get up. Like think about it. I know it's the last round, but when Fury fought Deontay Wilder the first time, when he got knocked out, right?
Yeah.
He got up in time, but he got knocked out in the meantime, didn't he? Like, but when he's up, his head ain't straight. You know what I'm saying? And he can get bombed on again and again and again and again. And I think that's why it's more dangerous, is because you get the sort of mini breaks. Whereas if one of us knocks the other one down in MMA and you're that badly hurt, you're probably getting finished.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And even let's say in boxing, because of like there not being like a specific rule to the clinch. If it was like, let's say, you can be in that clinch for X amount of time before. So, because there is wrestling, some refs will let it go on for 30 seconds where you got the people trying to get dominant positions, get their inside hooks in. And then like other ones, as soon as you get close, break.
Stop, yeah.
So
like Joe Cortez comes to mind.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Against Ricky Hatton.
That's it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that if there was some of those parts which were also, you could like, it was more of a concrete space where it's like what you can do on the inside, that would probably allow for more breathers. Because you've been here, right? Boom, you take it, okay, let me close it down.
But again, I think it's a cultural thing. It comes back to because the rule, what's the rule? It's hard, you know what I mean? Without a grey area, it should be just like what are you doing grabbing him? Get off him. Do you know what I mean? Like a sort of dismissed that way in the culture of the gyms and things like that. That's how I think you get the most changes. Like, I don't know if you know much about Jiu Jitsu and stuff. Like leg locks, for example, were a big no-no for a long time. They were always allowed in certain rules, but they were frowned upon as like a coward's move, which is kind of a strange way to look at it because they're effective. But it was like, you can't beat me this way, so you got to go for a leg lock, right? Whereas now that's out the window, and leg locks are a big part of the game. But like things like that, where it's a culture, it's strong. Do you know what I mean? And people abide by it. Whether even some people like abide by it just blindly, but just because he does it, and he does it. So I guess I'll follow. Do you know what I mean? I think that plays in.
100%.
It's hard to fix, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But that's what we're here for, to have these conversations for, those watching to be like, hey, do you know what? Maybe what they're saying, they want something. Should we, like, what can we do? But unfortunately, most of the ones where the risks are happening are on the shows that aren't being televised.
Right.
Because those that are being televised, there is more protection that's in place. You've got the doctors on hand, 2 or 3 paramedics on side. You've got like checking their weights leading up to their fights, etc.
And you feel it, don't you? When you're at a big show, you feel like you're at a big show. You feel like it's like, I know we've used the term before, but like a Premier League event, that you feel like it's the real deal. Where we've also been at shows in places where you kind of like, whoa, this is, you know what I mean? Hope no one goes down in here. You know what I mean? It's like that, isn't it?
That's it.
And it's not to be laughed at, but that's the reality. You know what I mean? There's certain shows, and like amateurs too. Like like some of the places like I fought as an amateur, you look back now, it's like, how did they go down? You know what I mean? How did they? It's just strange, isn't it? But time goes. But getting on to Usyk, right? Because he's fighting. We're both going to assume that he wins this fight. Let's say no disrespect to Rico, but let's just assume he wins. And if he doesn't, we'll come back and talk again. Apologise to Big Rico. But he's what's next for him? Do you see him fighting for much longer?
Not much longer. I see him retiring next year.
As in 2027?
Yeah, next 27. Reason being is that undisputed 2027. So similar to like a lot of the philosophies I talk about in my book are not just based on my understanding. It's more from what I've studied and learned. It's not my bag of tricks. It's more of what the world has been doing, and then be like, wait a second, let me take a note, and then just cross-referencing with them, and then be like, oh yeah, actually that makes sense. So he's very big on like visualization, goal setting, affirming things, like his undisputed. When he was standing before, obviously when we came to the weigh-ins and stuff, you'll see him standing up 3 times, his hand up like that, visualizing and having a clear goal there. Him saying, AJ, undisputed, 2027. I don't think that's him saying, AJ, you're going to beat me in a boxing match.
Not in his life, yeah.
So that being the fact that that's not what he's saying, he's telling me, he's saying, I'm willing to pass the mantle on, I'm willing to step away to but to enable you to have an opportunity to become champion. So the fact that that's where his heart is more towards, makes me feel that, he's going to have a couple more fights, go in the background, and then continue building because he's got a boxing school in Ukraine. So he spoke about that. He's doing shows over there now. Him and Serge Lapin, they're building rtfight.com. So I feel that that's going to be more his focus. Where does he go next? I think really for him, those moves, like, he's almost got bigger than, not voluntaries or mandatories. It's more of like the Usyk name and brand is just, that's who the champion is. He's got to the stage now where, almost similar to Ngannou, to the point where, he's in this other place, he's fighting there, but even though there's no belt or title there, it's Ngannou, it's Usyk. So I reckon Usyk will probably fight, well, I don't think he'll fight Dubois. I think and also they got the rematch because
they were competitive last time.
Yeah.
People can say what they want. Like, that was not a close fight.
No.
We was together,
100%.
Like,
we still got a video of when we were talking about it play by play, and then
that was not. That was like, and that's not a disrespect to Dubois. It's just that Usyk's that great. Like it was like clear for me. And you was right next to me, so I'm shooting to you too. From the second round, this is only going one way. There was no, I don't think he fights him again. Does he fight a timer before he retires? Do you think? I think
Talma's talk because Talma was with they're talking about Filip Hrgović next for him in August. So because I saw there's obviously Dave Allen versus Hrgović last night. So that one in Doncaster, third round, Talma got thrown in. So I think we got him doing what do they call it again? So we got George came in after the fight to say, like, did an interview with Adi on a depot and stuff, saying, Moses is out in August, so obviously that's what we look at. Let's make sure that Hrgović is all right, nothing too serious. If that's the case, they both want to become world champions, so let them see each other. So I reckon that will be a good fight. Caballero, I reckon, maybe Caballero Parker. I'm not sure if they fought before, but as in, I think Caballero Parker, because Parker's been, he's still got his cocaine thing, hasn't he?
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't heard from him since that, Maybe it was in the fish.
I don't think, but also I don't think that's, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that's a massive deal in terms of a ban. I think because it's a recreational thing. I don't think that, I might be wrong, but I don't think that's the same heavy duty, like you've just been caught doing steroids. I don't think so.
I get that. I think the reason I mentioned it is, like, I remember when even like Clarissa Shields, her thing was about being like around weed or something like that, cannabis in her system, and it was still like, and then when they looked into it, it's like probably secondhand smoking. She was around, so they're like, look, we're not gonna. But I think I also look at sometimes these things. It depends what side of the camp you're on. Are you on the A or the B side? Sometimes,
of course it plays.
Do you know what I mean? We'll throw you under the bus because
it does. But going back to Talma, I think he's the next guy. I think he cleans. I've got to be honest. I think he cleans up the rest. I don't know how he'd do against Usyk at this point, but I think he is the next undisputed. He's the man. He's the next one.
He's definitely, in terms of if we're looking next 5-10 years, the reign. I think with him, I look at him similar, as they say, the comparison between him and Iron Mike, I see is very similar. I think he definitely has the potential to be the next great, but I'm one where I like, only time will tell.
Of course.
And because with this, it's like at this stage, incredible work. What, 2021 now? 21, incredible. Let's say for instance, becomes champion in 23. Incredible work. So now we're talking 2028. He's world champion, maybe champion next year, 2027, 2028. He's there now. Has a couple of good years, tens of millions in the account, marriage, kids, the media, a couple of snakes in the camp that you had to get rid of. Where's your head at there? Because life throws, do you know what I mean? Is in like, if we looked up Iron Mike when he was 20,
no one was ever going to beat him.
But time told a different story than that.
But I think there's a lot that goes into it, isn't it? Like you're saying.
And that's what I'm referring to. So I look at a man like Moses. He is very stoic, very grounded, so he has the potential to go all the way, 100%. I see him being a future great, regardless of what happens.
And I don't think he's a wild boy like Mike was either. He didn't come from a crazy background. You know what I mean?
But sometimes it's more of let time tell. I kind of let people go on their own journey and not trying to put too much expectation on someone. It's more of appreciating the ride for where it goes. So whether he goes for champion and then let's say does it all, and then we look back and then something happens and it's like, oh, he could have X, Y, Z.
Yeah, right.
And everyone's always talking about if this person only did that. It's like, hey, maybe that's what he needed to become who he was.
I want to see him fight Dubois. I think that's the fight for him next. Stick him in with Dubois.
Yeah, that's the
fight.
That's the fight for him, but that's not the fight for Dubois.
It's a tough day for Dubois. I think the kid's class.
And he's a southpaw.
I'm not saying a kid. He's not a kid.
Yeah.
He's a big man.
Big man,
but like
he's a young man.
Age,
he's in like, we're big men. Like he's a young man.
He's in like
we're becoming older now.
I think he's got it. Do you know what I mean? Everything you listen to him speak, the way everything about him.
Yeah.
And he's not just a smash, crash, bang, wallop type of fighter either. He's got massive power, but he gets in there, he does the right thing, then he's 100%. Slick, he does his thing.
But yeah, even I saw an interview with Stan Dubois, Triple D's dad, and he was like, actually, one bit, there's like, he says, I want him to fight him next. And then like, when Moses is there, and then another interview, he's like, yeah, I'd fight him next, but maybe it's not the right fight. Yeah, I don't think it's the right fight for him. Do you know what I mean? He's probably hyped after seeing his son just win the heavyweight title back. Yeah. Seeing, I want him. And then after reflecting, me like,
he saw a video of the Towers highlights and went, oh,
do you know
he's up.
Like, because like, his pace switching as well, because it's like one like how he kind of thinks there, but it's more like it's in like the speed, but it's not just speed taps, because like let's say when Yard had his last fight against Benavidez, it's like there was some speed on it, but it was just taps. Versus I find with Moses it'll be speed, but it's one that will take your chin off as well. So it's not just speed to like, some shots it's like, okay, keep you busy, bam, big shot. It's more, bam, bam. Like each of these shots are hurting you. And you're like, am I surrounded? Like, what's going on?
And he's only 21,
well,
which is crazy. Like,
so he's got to get that man strength coming through as well.
Not even near it. But then saying that, you mentioned earlier, the great Iron Mike Tyson, like he was done early. You never know. Like people peak at different times, don't they? You know,
and that's it.
And he's obviously in a man's body. And he's not in an underdeveloped, like, you know, it's like sometimes you see someone at 21, they're strong, they're whatever, but they need a few more years of like, he ain't that category. He's a beast now.
Yeah, 100%.
But going back to Usyk, how good is Usyk, do you think, in terms of like historical relevance, like compared to the other greats of the past?
I think he's up there. Like for me, I put him, in terms of, especially if we look at the heavyweights division, like I think he's taken the mantle. I thought the mantle was going to be passed to like AJ initially, because Fury became champion, but obviously he had a few setbacks and etc. through life. So I thought AJ was going to be the one to kind of carry the mantelpiece for this generation. Usyk's kind of just proven that's not going to be the case. As in, he cleaned up the and also the fact he obviously gone from the Olympics, winning gold, then becoming cruiserweight champion in almost in a UFC style fashion. And what I mean by that is you clean up the division. Was it a prize fight for one of those tournaments?
It was Muhammad Ali Trophy. The competition.
Yeah,
Super Series.
That's what, Super Series. So like clean up the division there, going up the weight, doing it there, cleaning. But the reason as well why his relevance is so important, I see, is he'll be in the talks of, I see as like the Jack Johnson, or let's say Jack Johnson, the 49-0
Rocky Marciano.
Obviously Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, what is more to Mike Tyson, and then I'll probably say him. And the reason why I say that, it's not taking anything away from your Lennox Lewis, your Evander Holyfields, your Joe Frazier's, your other great champions. But for me, like, in terms of my perspective, my opinion here, is the reason why I call him the great is I look at what else you're doing outside of the ring. So like, I feel like obviously Jack Johnson, he was beating up people in the ring where it was illegal to be black and doing those things. It's in like,
and he married white women too.
Do you get what I mean?
Got the crowd going crazy at the time.
Do you know what I'm saying? So like, he was a proper nutter in terms of his thing. Is in people talk about,
Do you know his story? He's a great character. You read about his things because he's got an interesting thing, because considering the time, like the early 1900s or whatever, when he was growing up, he grew up in an area of Texas where he used to have white friends and they weren't racist. And he said it was like it gave him the confidence. Like he wasn't like the victim status, because to him him it was just normal. So when he first experienced it, he was already a man. So it was like he was strong to it. Do you know what I mean? It's a really interesting story. But if anyone, like the story of the car, you've heard that one.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Ticket.
Here's the money twice on the way back. On the way back.
Yeah, brilliant guy. Like,
100%.
he must have been like a. Can you imagine how strong of a character he must have been to do what he was doing?
That's what I mean. 100%.
Yeah,
so it's like, and then also there was that fight against obviously with the Great White Hope when he came back, and then
Jess Willard.
Willard.
Well, no, was it Jess Willard? Not Jess Willard. That was Jack Dempsey beat him, didn't it? It might have been. Yeah, Jess Willard beat him. Yeah. Jess Willard did beat him eventually.
Yeah, Willard. But I think there was one.
There was one before that. Yeah,
one before it was like Max something. Maybe he came out of retirement. The German guy or something, or maybe American. I forgot.
It was American. Max Schmeling.
Max Schmeling.
That was Joe Lewis. That was against Joe Lewis. But he. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and where it was like a lot of people got beaten up after, not beaten up, like actually lynched and killed after. So it's in like
he was champion and he retired undefeated, didn't he? He came back and beat and Jack Johnson gave him a hiding.
Yeah, so it's like, but it's more of what he stood for outside, like him basically saying, I'm going to be strong, black and proud who I am. Well, not even black, but I'm going to be proud in who I am as a man, and you're not going to belittle me or do this, that, the other. I'm going to take my licks how I need to, but this is who I stand for. Then you've got like an Ali who, again, like not just in the ring, but out of the ring, carrying himself. And this is a day where his peers were getting killed. Like it's not just talking from imprisonment. He's like, look, like your friends are actually getting assassinated. So tread carefully if you're going up against this country. So, but he's still like, I stand for my beliefs. And even though he was known for fighting, it's really his love of people and his peace and humanitarian, which continues. Mike Tyson coming up hungry, aggressive. Again, but showing very human. And when I say human, is in flawed. Showing flawed problems there, but taking them on the chin, coming back, doing his best. And even now, still staying relevant. Like, even to this day, he's still, probably in terms of when he said, how do I go viral? Iron Mike helped me. When I post some of his stuff going up, a lot of the videos, one video you might see where it's like, oh yeah, anyone can beat me when they're at their home. It's nice when you're talking at home, but it's when you're in the ring, when you got that pressure, and I'm in front of you, it's a different story then. And it's like, and it's so true. Do you know what I mean?
Have you seen the interview where he terrifies that guy on morning TV? Oh, it's brilliant, the Canadian guy. So
when he's like, asking about the rape, and he's like, oh yeah. And he's like, oh yeah.
He just switches.
He's like, oh yeah. What's more terrifying? It's more uncomfortable sitting with like an arsehole like you. It's like, what do you mean?
This is a rap piece
of shit. Yeah, that's the one.
Said, oh, Mike, we're live. We go, I don't care. What are you going to do about it? The guy's like,
Exactly. He's like, oh yeah. Thank you very much. That was it. So it's like unapologetically him. Just a philosopher as well. I almost seem like almost like a modern day Socrates, Plato, a thinker. As much as he's dangerous in the ring, a thinker, a teacher. Even from him like preparing Ngannou for his fight, getting him like ready. Like this is the next generation. He saw his story, inspired. He's coming up against someone who's named after him. Like that's how legendary he is. Is that future heavyweight champions are named after him. You know what I mean? It's like, so it's like, that's how powerful it is there. So that's kind of his meaning. To be fair, now I'm saying that maybe Tyson Fury could go into this convo.
I think so.
Because
he was great.
Because also his battles outside, the mental health side is in like, he's shown that, look, I can come back from the brink of despair, dust myself off, and show that like, you can live with these things. You can be big and strong, but also have weaknesses. Is in like, don't see this facade as that I've got it all. And like his shows are very like human, like got a human touch to it in terms of human interest piece. You get to know him, his family, grounded. Even like in season 2, episode 6. Shout out, I'm in there featured.
I was going to say, I didn't see you in that, did I?
Oh, yeah. You know,
that was the day of the thing. I was with you that day, wasn't
I? Yeah. Literally, so you got there a bit later. But all right. No, I'm saying you could have been on it too. That's what I'm saying. Isn't it? You could have been. But as in, with Spencer Brown and that. So shout out to Sponsor and Gold Star Promotions. Always showing massive love and support here. But yeah, so like what he stood out outside of the ring as well. AJ, I guess maybe how you can start late and turn things over in terms of like he started boxing late, this, that, the other, which is good. But I kind of put him in that similar category to like Tyson. No, not Tyson. They've both got their own journeys, but as in when now talking about the opposition that Iron Mike went through, what we're talking Ali went through, what we're talking now.
Different.
And now what we're going to talk about, what Usyk's going through. So it's kind of why I'm saying it's just that tier.
Being honest, with respect, he's achieved great things, but I don't think you can put Anthony Joshua in the same conversation as someone like the names we mentioned. You know what I mean? Your Ali's, Tyson. There's levels in it, and that's like a one level up. Do you know what I mean?
And that's really, you know when they kind of have like that great SABC.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd say,
you can't touch them guys. Them guys are another level.
So I'd say that definitely well deserved, but I think Usyk is going to be with them, even though he's had less fights than a lot of, but it's just more the era and the story we're in.
I don't think it matters how many fights you've had, it's about who you fought and what you've achieved.
100%. Right? And also in the amateurs, he had 300 plus fights, so it's not like he's someone who's just come out of the woodworks. So he's proven himself across all levels, and it's more of, like, it was even, I forgot, it was funny when someone was like, oh, this is war, talking. And I'm thinking, you're talking to a man who's actually taking time out of war to have a boxing match. Here, it's in like,
this ain't nothing to him.
This ain't war. This is a boxing match with regulations and rules and protection. Versus when he's like, look, there's times when the sirens are going off, someone could bomb my house, and I'm like, I'm just going to sleep here because I can't be asked to go down to the bunker. That's the type of mindset of a man he's going through, and still be able to move with humility, with love and care and compassion for your fellow human beings when you're going through what you're going through there. Yeah. So that for me is why I put Usyk almost in that second category, in that S tier, like elite there.
And he said, I think it was him. I might be wrong on this. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was him. He said something once about, like, when we was talking about money and stuff earlier. I think he said something along the lines of, he would never do anything for money that he wouldn't do for free.
Okay.
To me, I feel that way about things. I feel like you shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? That's the way to be, isn't it? Like, people go like, oh, I wouldn't do that. Oh, here's $1 million. Oh, I'll do it. You know, you're just a dog, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? Like, you dance to the tune. And I think that plays into the boxing too. Because when you've got that level of sort of conviction in what he believes in, I feel like that goes a long way. But the question I was going to get to earlier, I didn't ask you, was like, how do you think he does against, say, Lennox Lewis in his heyday?
Okay, so these hypotheticals, I'd say I'm not really big on these. I kind of like leave each era to their own.
Why, in case you run into Big Lennox?
No, do you know, I've run into him, and funnily enough, when I ran into him, I did ask him to do the grip test, and he didn't give me a shout.
Well, there you go. Usyk beats him.
But it's like, no.
What do you mean he wouldn't give you a shout? What, he wouldn't
no, to be fair, he was working. He was on the zone up there, so I was like, I kind of give it. It was more of like, look, well, no, it wasn't even the grip test. It was more of like, I wanted to get a selfie. I was like, hey, bro, get a quick selfie. He was like, well, I'm working here.
The old wiggly finger.
It was like, no, but I'm just working it. So I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, bro, I'm not asking you to grab a camera. I'm just saying, look this way to the camera, smile, and then we just do thumbs up. And he was like, but I get it.
Well, I had a chat with Radio Raheem on a podcast recently about Lennox Lewis, because he was talking about great British and all this kind of stuff. And I was putting an argument forward as Tyson Fury is the greatest British heavyweight. And he was going, no. And then I went on to say, well, Lennox ain't even British. He won a gold medal for Canada. Should be hung for treason. No, but he's like, that's a tricky one for me, but that's another point.
But yeah, I think I try and leave each era to their own, because I see it as like one night, I'd say both fighters have an argument to win the bout. Yeah. So it's one of them where it's like, and I just like to leave each one to kind of enjoy their own era and their own space. Like, it's almost like, for instance, if you were to take Sugar Ray Leonard today, how would he fare? It's like, well, he did well back then, so he probably do pretty well right now.
Yeah, right.
But each one has got their own battles that they had to face in their what they've come through, and that's probably why I also like the old school training, because let's say a lot of even in football, not that I'm a big football fan or anything, but like someone like a Pele or Maradona, I think probably still would be able to hold their own, but there's just different strengths and weaknesses.
Especially Maradona, I think, because the era he played in, a lot of people would like to kick him. Do you know what I mean? I think it'd have been great.
So it's like, I think Usyk's great. Fantasies, I'm more like talking about like current fantasies that could take place now. So it's more of like,
let's talk about Usyk Benavidez.
There we go. So that's what I'm saying there, because now we've got both guys who potentially see. So like something like that, I reckon it'll be a good scrap. It's one whereby I still think Usyk will win, because there's something. Usyk's the type of guy whereby he leaves no stone unturned. He is the bigger man. the more experienced man in terms of in these settings, in this environment. So for him to fight Benavidez, come on, young cub, let's have it. Let's see what we do. Benavidez to fight Usyk. It's the time of my life. Oh my gosh, I'm fighting Usyk. This, that, the other. I can't believe it. So there's an element of what it means to each one, but not say, come on, young cub, that he means he's not going to take it seriously. It's just that this is just what I do. I fight the most dangerous, biggest people on the planet, and I take care of them and make them look like they shouldn't belong with me. Like, that's kind of it. But saying that Benavidez is just cutting through these weights and going through them, but is in like the same way they say yesterday's price isn't today's price, cruiserweight isn't heavyweight. Do you know what I mean? And he just came up to cruiserweight.
And he's carrying some spare weight as well, let's be honest. He's not shredded and ripped at cruiser, is he? Do you know what I mean? He's got a bit spare, so he's not going to be a big guy against the... I think Usyk will figure it out pretty light. But
I think he'll give him a good scrap, though. I think he'll give him a good fight. Yeah. He's durable. It'll be entertaining. I'll be there to watch it. One I want to see as well, which obviously I know we've been talking like elite levels, but one I was actually chatting to some mates with the other day is the light heavyweight division. One I'm excited to see is like, I almost see it's like our British four, is in like, and again, before like, I
feel a nickname coming up.
I know, that's
roll my shorts down in case I have to get up here.
I know, that's like as I was saying, I was like, maybe this is overstatement. This almost brings me back to the conversation we had at the Usyk Dubois undercard. It almost gave me a feel
that
of that.
One baffled me. That one on that card, I had to pause for a second. No.
But I see as like, right now, obviously, light heavyweight, Bivol's, there's a good video that just came back out. I haven't watched it all yet, but Box Raw have got his training routine just coming out. I think he's getting back active. But see, he's king of the division, but I feel, and obviously Benavidez still, but I interviewed, what's his name? Craig Richards not too long ago. So obviously he recently won his fight in... I can see the smoke starting.
I'm going to need you to take it easy, bro. Hey, you get some water.
It's like, so it's like so Craig Richards, obviously he's on this comeback now. He recently beat Dan Aziz in Ghana, so shout out to Craig.
That's right, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's right.
That was a good little card there. Match from over there doing their global stuff there. So great stoppage. So I was saying there's him, obviously Yard, who's come to the top and just come short, but always showing heart and ready to give it a go.
That's giant heart.
Giant heart. So I reckon those two. I also want to see. I think obviously Whittaker's kind of like the young cub coming through, kind of showing that he kind of is going to be like up there, and then obviously that's the Boatsy. Because almost there's the Boatsy Yard bit that was kind of back and forth. And I see Ben Whittaker's almost the name and the brand. And Craig Richards is the one who kind of just works in silence and just gets the job done.
He's like the quiet man almost.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, but he fights at that level. So it's one of them where I see is like, we've got 4 fighters like that from these shores. Like, what's happening there?
Yeah.
That's more kind of what they all talk about. Aspiring towards world heavyweight titles. Again, playbook, or is it, I want to say playbook box. You know the one with Charlotte Daly and Johnny Nelson? They've got a new show.
I know so I don't know the name of it. I know
but playbook. So I think I saw Yard and Tunde go on there, Tunde Ajayi, and they had a good talk and talking about like, you know, trying to go for world title, falling short. But I see as in like, that would be, I want to see them mix it out. Because what you're talking about is fantasy fights, which are great to hear about, like, to hypothesize. But I'm looking at the lay of the land. This is stuff that makes some exciting nights. Imagine those 4 on one card, like, let's say Boatsy Yard, because obviously they've been talking about for so long. And then like, but when I said it to Craig Richards, when I mentioned Whittaker, he's like, bro, if you haven't fought for world titles at them level, don't be bringing them names to me. Because respectfully, like, I've earned my space here. Like, as in, like, yeah, I've had my L's, but I've climbed back up. I'm now, I think, WBO or WBA Intercontinental, like heavyweight.
How old is he, Craig?
he's getting on, so he's probably like mid-30s, something like that. So yes, so it's one of them, but a lot of them are as well, like Yard's no spring chicken.
Yard's about 36.
Do you know what I mean? Boatsi's not far behind them, so it's like one where Whitaker's only the young one coming through, and he's still mid to late 20s. So he's like 28, 29. So it's one where I see.
But also, I'd say as well, I don't think that's old nowadays. If you look after yourself and you live in that athlete life,
100%.
Yeah,
it's just a number really.
Yeah.
And it's so that's like I'm more interested in like seeing like how they would do, and then it's more of like how would it go. As I say, I try to be the politician because everyone's got an argument for who can win where. If you say where my head or where my heart is, obviously that's a different question. But because both places, every fighter I see has got a chance to win amongst them. And yeah, I see as like, and also I know I don't have a crystal ball. So when I make a call, I'm aware that like even with the Dubois versus Wardley, they were like, oh, who's going to win 50-50? I said, well, really, I think Dubois should win this. But Wardley, he doesn't know how to lose yet. So it's hard to bet against someone who doesn't know how to lose. Every time I've been thinking, it's just one step too far. It keeps on finding a way. So, but obviously, Dubois showed him a way how to lose. So now it's a different story. So I think with those four is there. Usyk, obviously, always got time for Usyk. And I know from a viewership, people are probably more interested in hearing about names like that. But I kind of like to see those who maybe aren't getting the same light and light shine. But I feel that have the more of like, that's where my question mark is. Like, what's like, I know why Usyk's not fighting Benavidez. As in, there's a lot of other things in between.
And listen, it's not as simple this day and age, is it, as saying, I'll fight him and that's that. Yeah. It's hard, let's go. You know, there's a lot of moving parts.
But you've got four people from Britain, all fight on DAZN. Matchroom and Queensbury are pretty friendly now.
Do you think any of them can get a world title? Any of them four? I think Whittaker's got the best chance, hasn't he?
Yeah, Whittaker's definitely got the best. Especially under Andy Lee. Yeah. Andy Lee has definitely made him from because now he can give the talking in the showboat, but in the ring he's about business now. Yeah. He's like, look, I'm here to hurt a guy, and we're not getting paid for overtime.
This sport's not a joke.
Yeah,
like, I mean,
and I think Liam Cameron maybe almost gave him that wake up call at an early stage.
That's exactly what I think it was, a wake up call, because I think he had the ability. But you can get caught up in the messing about type of things, and I don't mean just like showboating. There's an element of like you're not quite kicking through all the gears as good as you could just because you haven't had to yet, and then suddenly you get thrown over the top rope and twist your knee or whatever he did. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. But listen, he got it in the rematch, didn't he? And that was that. But going forward, I think he's got it. He's got the ability anyway. Do you know what I mean? He's got the ability to go. But then again, listen, the elite levels is a different thing, isn't it? Once you break into that and you start fighting these top guys, like who are the light heavyweight champions you'd have to come up against right now?
Benavidez.
Is he still holding the belt?
Well, he just won the cruiser.
That's what I'm saying. So
but if he just won it, I think he's
still holding it. But he's probably not going to fight. He'll probably vacate.
Yeah.
He's going to let it go.
And Bivol, I think.
Bivol, of course. Yeah, Bivol's still got one, hasn't he? Yeah, forget that. But
because it was obviously because he was the undisputed before.
Yeah, that's a tough day out, isn't it? That's a tough day out.
That's what I mean.
Serbiev's still floating about.
Yeah.
Tough days.
So that's kind of where I'm just like. So that's kind of where I'm just more in a space where I'm like, I like to see them. Obviously, Willie Hutchinson as well. He's an entertaining fighter and probably belongs in the conversation around them. And
I'm glad with them four you held back on a nickname. I know we use gay. You saw me sit up on my chair, adjust my collar. Hey, excuse me.
Yeah, and I know, and that's why it's like I had to kind of like.
But that one on the Usyk bar undercard, that is the tipping point. I mean, I was like that. I was out of energy. You lost me at that point. If you know, you know. But there was a moment there where I heard that, and it was just like, he didn't, did he? Surely he didn't say that. He didn't. I know that's not what he said. Like that. Jesus Christ. But anyway, we move on. Before we finish up, mate, let's get into it because we spoke about it a little bit. We haven't got into the fight itself of Dubois and Wardley. Like, as I said to you, I don't know if I said it on the camera before we started, that I thought the fight would basically go the opposite way. I thought Dubois would start fast and then Wardley would probably break him down and finish him late, which as it happened, went exactly the opposite way. But yeah, what do you think about the fight?
I loved it. It's like, Frank was speaking about it being potentially like the Britain's version of the war, Hagler-Hearns. And
sorry. I'm going to sit up straight again for this one. I'm listening.
So that's what that's what Frank said. He said it's going to be, it's going to be a heavyweight version of a Hagler Hearns. Yeah. And I think they did their best to deliver as close to that as they could. As in like, and obviously that's why I say it in the way I said it. They did as best as they could to deliver. Entertaining bout, entertaining fight.
And they give it, didn't they?
100%.
They stuck it on the line.
Is in like just back and forth. I think that I think if anything, the knockdown probably worked to Dubois' favour and against Wardley. Because Wardley's like, when you hit someone, you hurt someone hard.
Too early.
You kind of get almost too confident. You almost think, especially when you think, because he's probably still got some memories from back in the day, which he puts well in the past. But when someone's giving you a pasting before, you know about it. Next time you step it in, you want to do better, but you still know what they have their potential and the ability to do to you. So you now gone in, you lay them over, or even sometimes it might be on the other side where you've given someone a pasting before multiple times in sparring, and all of a sudden you go in there once and you're like, wait, what's happening here? Like,
and sometimes the sparring, how you felt that day, right? There's certain things like not like I had a bout once years and years ago. I was probably 18, 19 in the amateurs, and I'd sparred a guy who'd come down from another club. And when you have one of them nights in the gym where you're just not on it, and he'd ping my head off. But in him pinging my head off, I could see I was better than him. I just didn't have the energy and oomph to do it. Anyway, long story short, as happenstance, we started, we exchanged pleasantries, whatever. We ended up boxing 6 weeks later, and I beat him easy, and whatever. But I felt like he had a confidence coming into it. I know it's different in terms of what we're talking about, but I felt like he had a confidence coming into it that wasn't warranted. And I had a confidence of like, I know how good you are, but now I feel. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you don't know how good I am.
Right.
And it's
do you know what I'm saying? My energy was good now, right? Yeah. Like on that day, is what it is. But I feel like what you're saying, that there is an element of that too. Because it almost felt like to me he'd knocked him over too early. He put him straight down. I think it was 8 seconds with it. I'm not exaggerating. It was like 8, 10 seconds. Yeah. Like straight away. And it was almost like. Sometimes you could, not that he did, but because he didn't, in terms of how he carried on after, but you can switch off a bit, can't you? In terms of like, relief. Like,
100%.
I'm off to the races here. And Dubois was, he kept going.
That's it, and I'm glad you asked that, because even as you might be able to see there that's my board for obviously my clients and stuff. So this was last week, what we're working on. At the top we say, footwork and the jab won Daniel Dubois the world heavyweight title.
Ooh,
so that essentially, because that's what we're working on, this is in, what we're doing is because like, he almost brought it back to more of an amateur style. Yeah. And funny enough, the one before that, the 4 keys to explosive power, those are the 4 steps which I got from Danny from Boxing Science before. Okay. Like when I interviewed him on the build-up. So it's like the 4 keys are move better, get stronger, move faster, punch harder, which again, Fabio delivered and showed that he could do. Because sometimes people are like, okay, you want to punch harder, what's the move? It's like, okay, it's great thinking you've got to lift, but what's your mobility like? Like if you could only turn as far as this, then how much power can you really generate versus someone who can really swing it through and round? So it's like, there's that part of things where I feel that both men did what they can do. I think with Dubois, and like what we saw against Usyk, is part of his heart was taken. Because let's say, he took some horrible shots from Wardley, but part of it was like, I'm in this fight. If it's a fight, I'll fight. If I'm just taking a beating, like I'm not like, well, the fight's won. Like you've beaten me.
I've spoken about this before on podcasts where I feel like a little bit with Dubois, it's not such a people call him a quitter, don't they? I don't think it's a quitter thing with him. I think it's more of a bewilderment thing. He kind of gets lost. And Usyk was so far, as an example, was so far ahead of him in the dance, if you like. He's kind of looking for help, and don't know what to do, runs out of ideas. Whereas in this one, he knows what to do. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not a bewildering thing, and he believes he can beat Wardley. 100%. So he can get up and go, well, let's just have a tear-up. Do you know what I mean? It's not that he did just have a tear-up, but like in terms of mentality, I'll dig into this fella 100%. Because I can. And that to me shows he ain't a quitter. It's more of a bewilderment thing, for lack of a better term. Do you know what I mean? I'm out of ideas, panic, finish.
And again, when you're out of ideas and you're getting hit by the Ivan, do you know what I mean? In round number, what was it, 6 or 7? I forgot, what was it?
5.
5 even, yeah. When you get caught by the Ivan after you've just thrown your shot, he slipped, boom,
Don't push the horses, bro.
There we go. That's what I'm saying. So as in like, we can give it the talk of I know when he stood up and now he walked back to his corner, we saw him like, whoa, it's like that.
Yeah, you was giving it, you pussy, you.
Nah.
I was like, whoa, calm down, bro.
You know, never that. But as in, but no, he's I love that fight. It was like, because even now watching, what I did find funny though is I still really want to rewatch it. Like at the moment, you're only seeing these highlights, and I never got it. It's like you got 9 minutes of highlights for the Dave Allen fight that just happened, but there's only like 3 minutes of highlights, and I'm finishing 3 rounds, and there's like 3 minutes of highlights for an 11-round barnstorm. Yeah. So yeah, I really want to rewatch it because like it was back and forth action. Yeah. Obviously the stoppages and like it's for me it was the reason why I say it was the footwork and his jab that won it is because like obviously he got caught a couple of times top of the head and it got knocked a bit dizzy. But then after then it's like when Wardley would sometimes try and lunge in and try to come in with a big right hand, like he would just kind of bounce back and then get him back with the jabs, or sometimes even nullify him as he's stepping in and just break him with his jab down. And then what else was he doing? What I loved was, but then when he was getting in the exchanges and going back and forth, he just biting his gum shield, throwing and getting out of it. What else was I like? What else did I see that I really liked? And also, I think, and it didn't make much of a difference at this stage because Wardley was. Again, the fight was pretty much
went on
done.
A little bit long.
But it's more in terms of the experience. Because let's say when he got the knockdown in the 3rd round, you could see he was dizzy. But if that was Wardley, I reckon he's got the heart where he's going to want to stay on his feet. Versus an experienced fighter like Dubois is like, give me a second. I can still win this. This is 12 rounds. Okay, cool. Let's go again. He was only down there for 4, but as in like he was back up on 4. But that time, if he didn't do that, imagine if he stayed up and now he's stumbling, trying to walk towards the ropes, and now Wardley catches him with a couple more, ref calls it off, which is how Wardley got called off, really. He was like, who's outside here? Is it not that he meant that, it's just obviously he just caught a big right hand, but let's say because he's so tough, like he doesn't know how to take a knee. So it's more of, but he's also now fatigued, he's getting punched up, so that's why the ref called it there. But I feel like now with more experience, would it have been smarter to take a knee?
Yeah, mate. Where's he going next, Wardley?
Well, he rematched. That's where he's going.
Do you think it's happening?
Well, no, that's what he's called. It's official. He's instated. Again, he's called and ordered for the rematch, obviously because it was a voluntary defence. So that I'm looking forward to seeing. And again, it's the type of man Wardley is. Yeah. It's like again, because I see it as Wardley can get beat by any of these levels. When I say any of these levels, I almost called him like the British Wilder. And again, I know all of these names. It's like, wait a second. But
clear me throat for a second.
Hear me out for this one. Hear me out.
You said this to me at the Joseph Parker press conference, and I gave you a look like you just stole my cat. Like, hey bro, I'm gonna need you to calm down for a second. Hey.
But allow the comparison. The reason I say that, well, one, both their surnames start with W. So
all right, we got one comparison.
So, but it's in my more of. They're both fighters who've started late, so they don't have the technical ability. They're just tough mofos. And on paper, when you look at their boxing styles, people say they don't belong there, or this person, all they've got is. Well, all Ronda Rousey had was an armbar. All was enough to make her a UFC champion and make millions. All Wilder's got is a big right hand. But was enough to reign for 5 years. Now, who he fought, question mark. Yeah, I get that, all that stuff. But it still was enough to get him a bronze medal in the Olympics.
And I never liked the argument of, who's he fought? Listen, he fought, at one point, 40 people and knocked 39 of them out, right? Do you know what I mean? What do you mean, who's he fought? He fought everyone.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And like, you can make that comparison about every era, because people say that about Mike Tyson, no, he never fought anyone. It's like, listen, you get in there and fight them people you fought. See how well you do.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? What do you mean you never fought no one just because you ain't heard their name? Like, do you know what I mean?
And that's it. And so I see it as like, but technically, probably half of the people he's fought could have beat him theoretically.
If he didn't have the magic power.
Do you see what I mean?
But he did.
Exactly.
So and that's always my argument. Yeah, but he did.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? What if he didn't? But he did. You know what I mean? What if he had a better jab? Yeah, but he ain't.
Exactly.
It's results at the end of the day. Me and you, I've said this before. I might have said it to you even. If me and you box 10 times, right? I just held up 5. 10. If we fight 10 times, right? And 10 times we fight 12-round fights, and for 11 and a half of them rounds, you're boxing my head off every single time. But every single time, I also land a big right and knock you out. Who's the better fighter? The one who knocks him out, right? Because he's won every single time.
Absolutely,
I don't care about the 11 rounds you boxing me head off. Who won?
Exactly.
And that's my argument with a Wilder.
Absolutely.
I think his place in history will never be as high as it should be. Because to me, again, everyone will go, oh, he's not as good as this. That's fine. In terms of an actual straight fight against anyone in history, I'm not saying he beat everyone, of course, but he's a headache for anybody.
100%.
Because that danger is always there. Do you know what I mean? You're telling me he wouldn't have been a problem for some people. Like if he got in there with Lennox Lewis, he couldn't have chinned him. I'm not saying he's as good technically as Lennox, but you're saying he couldn't have chinned him. Of course he could have. Hassim Rahman did, right?
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying? It could have happened.
And that's what I mean. And all of these people I see as it's a strength is in, like, for instance, let's say someone like Loma or Loma, who was kind of almost created almost like a new era of no mass when, like, he was going through Rigondao, yeah, obviously he
and
was
the other guy, the Caribbean fighter, I forget his name. But like when the guy was just like, that'll do. I think that's enough. I think we've seen enough.
And it's like, but someone could be like, oh, he's got his footwork getting out of the way, and then landing some. Well, if that does the job done. So if your job is actually, I can take the whatever you can throw at me for 10, however many rounds, and you keep throwing, but I'm gonna find my time, and when I find my time, God pray for you because you're not coming up. Yeah. That's how you win.
Like, listen, people, especially people that in box, their opinions just whatever, right? For starters, but even people that have say some crazy. I had someone, I can't remember who it was. I'd say if it was, but I can't remember. Someone was saying about Roy Jones. Yeah, but he wasn't technically this. He didn't do that, and it's like, hang on, stop for a second. You're not telling me that Roy Jones wasn't that good in his prime, surely. Like it's just, but do you know what I'm saying? Like you're always going to get criticism.
And they'll be like, oh, but he lost to Kawasaki. It's like, he lost to Kawasaki. What was that? 46 or what?
He's gone. Like,
he's
in after he come back down from heavyweight. Anything after that is past his prime.
Exactly.
To me, in his prime, Roy's the best pound for pound boxer ever. I think, and we've got the chance to work. We haven't spoken about that, have we? The workshop we did with Roy up in Ringtone Boxing. Shout out Ringtone Boxing Gym. Man, that was magic. And Roy, I can't say enough good things. You've met Roy, right? It couldn't be a nicer guy.
Absolutely.
Couldn't be a nicer guy. He's just the best 100%. Guy. You know what I mean? The best. And he gave a great workshop. But anyway, yeah, in his prime, people are even criticising him. So if people are criticising him, Lomachenko's, Lennox Lewis, like, they're always going to criticise. You can't listen, can you?
The old saying about what? If they see you walk on water, they'll say it's because you can't swim.
Yeah.
So
right. It sums it up.
That's it. So I just kind of take everything with a pinch of salt. But that's kind of where, bringing it back to the Wardley Wilder, that's the reason why I say that. They've gone through different routes, but both of them got an equaliser. And obviously, in their time, now Wardley hasn't done what Wilder's done. So I'm not. And when I say the British version, obviously, we're a smaller island than what they are. So it's in that, you know what I mean? But it's more of, it's that similar parallel where you're like, what is that? This guy's just knocking it. It's like, but he shouldn't. But he is though. So
he's
exactly.
So what do you know?
No, exactly. Do you know what I mean? There's not been a person who's either been able to make it out the only person who managed to make it out the ring with him ended up getting a dent in his head the next time he stepped in.
Yeah, it went down twice in the first round and finished.
That's it. You know what I mean? And now, obviously, the other person who's now beating him still touched the canvas. So there's something he's got there.
And let's be honest, right? Tyson Fury beat him 3 times for my money, right? He did beat him 3 times. But the first fight, when he went down at the end, how many? I reckon 8 to 9 out of 10 referees would have looked at Tyson on the floor and gone, enough. That's it. Done. And we'd never have this conversation. He'd have been on and on and on and on and on again, right? Because no one's going to convince me that them fights with Tyson Fury didn't ruin his career. Oh, right? Yeah. That was it. It's over after that. Right? If you look at him now, he's gone, right? He's not what he was. But it doesn't change how great he was. Do you know what I mean? If Roy Jones fights now, he's not the best in the world anymore. But it doesn't change that what he was, right?
Yeah, when I see Iron Mike against Roy in that ring, or when Mike Tyson fought Jake Paul, it's not like, it's like, this is a 58-year-old man who's giving it a go. Like,
and still gave it a go.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Can you imagine the animal that was when it was 20,
you know
21?
What I mean? Or even the animal that is. How many 58-year-olds do you know who have got the minerals, who want to step in somewhere half their age in front of millions of people? And
crazy.
it's that mentality, and that's
I
where,
watched it, didn't you?
Yeah.
I wouldn't miss that.
100%.
One more chance to watch
Yeah,
Mike
do you
Tyson
know what I
walk
mean?
out,
100%.
I wish I could have gone to it. It was one of them. It was in America, obviously, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it would have been great to be there. Like, if I had the chance,
The reality will send you out there next time.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Hey, the life coach has spoken.
That's
Reality.
it.
But but mate, listen, always great to talk to
Always
you.
a
I'm
pleasure.
sure we'll do many more.
Thank
of
you
these
for having
over the
me
years.
today.
Before we finish,
pleasure.
you know the most important question I'm going to ask you. You've done this before. Get it right, bro. Which football team do you support?
Chelsea.
Yes, my man. Yes,
Come
he's
on.
back on the team. 100 push-ups to close the speech. I always finish with a fist up like this. Squeeze the neck. Boom.